one heck of a nerve.
Oh my God! The government is here! Run!
Hey, barkeep, whose leg do you have to hump to get a dry martini around here?
Ik ben ein Springfielder.
Shut the hell up. I've got the strangest feeling someone's gonna kick his ass.
Intro. All right, what's up? Totally Toonular. Yeah. What's up? I will apologize in advance that my Wi-Fi has been acting up. So if you're watching, you'll probably see Leo and Ben's video keep getting bigger and smaller. But you know, that's just what's gonna happen. So we're gonna
doing mushrooms here.
live with that. But today is a special episode because it is the BOYLAN BJARNI Batman birthday bash. Yeah, we got BJARNI here.
Happy BJARNI!
Man, thank you so much, BJARNI. I know it's been a long time coming, and you've been trying to come on this show for a while.
But as all my favorite podcasters and talk about my favorite topic, cartoons. So,
Yeah.
and I'm a egotistical opportunist. So, I've been trying.
Good company.
Yeah.
And you're coming live from Iceland right now, which is a first for us because we've never actually recorded with someone overseas before.
Yeah.
This is the first time Totally Tuner has gone international.
Oh yeah.
Success.
Success.
Keep hitting those home runs.
Yes.
Today Iceland, tomorrow, what is it? Greenland, right? Like that's how it works.
Yes.
What's the time zone difference like?
It's almost 2 a.m. here.
Oh shit.
But I had a bunch of coffee and my sleep whatever. What do you call it? My sleep
Cycle.
cycle is all fucked up. So I've been sleeping during the day anyway. So
Nice.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're on the show. I'm glad because last week was your birthday. By the time this episode drops, it's my birthday. So I was like, oh shit, we got to celebrate both our birthdays together, man. I mean, how young are you turning this year?
I'm 34. Yeah.
Big 34.
I've broken the cycle. I didn't die in 27. I didn't die at 33, and those are like the big death days. But I of course, wasn't famous enough either way, so it doesn't matter.
True. I just heard on my birthday the comedians die at 33, and then I think Virgil, friend of the show, I said like it's good that I'm not funny, so I'm not gonna die. So.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
That is the most untrue thing I've ever heard.
That's heavy.
Oh, I
It's
gotta die.
always the non-famous people and non-funny people who worry like, oh, well, I hope I don't die on this birthday with all the stars. Like, hey, you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about it.
I just turned 43 and I did not know that I share a birthday with Hacksaw Jim Duggan until this year. Yeah.
Really?
What? You don't look a day over 42.
Well, thank you, but I'm at this point it's at least 2 to 3 weeks over 42. Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, somewhere in there.
You know who I share a birthday with besides the insurrection? It's Mr. Bean.
Oh,
So January 6th, Rowan
Mr.
Axon. Yeah.
That's cool. I share a birthday with Elijah Wood and Nick Carter of the Backstreet Boys.
oh wow.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
And Jack Hill, if you guys know him. Jack Hill, the famous
I have
exploitation.
no idea who I share a birthday
No.
with at all. I know I was born the same year Jurassic Park came out. in 93.
Bernadette Peters.
You're
Bernadette
young.
Peters and I share a birthday.
Oh,
Which is
Bernadette Peters. That's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. I agree. I'm happy about that one.
This week I turned the big 3-0.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
That shit's scary.
I still
I
keep
don't want to be
flipping.
there.
So you
I am so.
you need to stay unfunny for 3 more years at least.
3 more years.
Don't want to lose you.
But Bjarni,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
survived 33.
not-
Like
so.
even Jesus had to respawn at 33.
Yeah, Jesus, Chris Farley, John Belushi, all my favorite comedians died at 33.
Jesus.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Bjarni. That's what's important because
Yeah.
we love you, and I miss you. It's like literally been forever. Like we've
Yeah.
chatted on the internet, but I literally have not seen you or even talked to you really since Shitstorm
Yeah, that was 2019, right?
18,
18?
wasn't it?
I felt
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah, it was 18. You're
Yeah,
right.
long time, man. We miss you. I mean, I've seen your face a bunch, Cook Island and and all that stuff, but I missed the beard. I missed here.
I was supposed to fly out for Cook Island, but then the COVID restrictions were so bad that I wasn't allowed into the country. I wasn't even allowed to leave the country because of the lockdown.
Oh.
And then, of course, Reeves gave me a call and said, like, well, film something. I wrote something for you. And I was able to jump in right at the end there.
How was COVID restrictions over there?
I mean, they were really tame compared to like other countries. And there weren't like a lot of deaths or anything, so things were sort of fine. I was working for the city, so I was an essential worker at the time. So I had to show up for work while everyone else got a day off. But what sucked was that my other job as a comedian, that completely died. We had our own comedy club that was run by comedians, the only comedy club in Iceland, and it had been running for 5 years.
Oh my God.
And that completely shut down because we were not allowed to keep it open during COVID.
Oh, wow.
And we still had to pay a rent, which was like $100,000 a month. So
Oh my gosh.
we got so bankrupt.
Real quick, that's not 100,000 US, right?
Yeah, no, 100,000 US
To
because it was downtown.
keep it up per month?
Yeah,
So downtown where? Like what city in Iceland?
Reykjavik. It's the only city in Iceland.
Shows how much I sorry, my knowledge of Iceland is limiting,
Well,
but I
That's why I'm here to teach you.
so I would like to go there one day and let's hang out and I don't know, laugh. Let's hang out and laugh.
The rest of Iceland, Aquaman taught me, is just small fishing villages, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Or if you watch every filmmaker, YouTuber that went to Iceland, you have that plane destroyed in the middle of nowhere, I guess, that you can climb it.
Yeah.
And like everyone posts the lights, the northern lights. That's what I always think of when I think of Iceland because that's such a thing people do.
Oh, and Dwayne wishes you a happy birthday.
Yes.
I don't know if I missed
In the chat,
before.
in the YouTube chat, Dwayne is in there. Dwayne Steele, the Whiplash Maniac.
Nice. Hello, Dwayne. I love you. Dwayne's great.
That's
He
Dwayne's the
seriously
man.
is. We love you, Dwayne.
He's been here for every live show that we've done. Dwayne is tuned in since the 100th anniversary. Well, not anniversary. I guess maybe it is the 100th episode. He's tuned in
Extravagant.
every week. He's been here. He's been with us a couple of times, sitting in. Gave arguably what could be
Masterclass.
considered, yes, on Transformers. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
sitting
best
with
ever.
greatness.
First guest ever.
Yeah, first ever.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yep. Wow, how far we've come. Now we have someone in Iceland on our show. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so great having you on, Bjarni. For real, it's been forever. But Ben, how's it hanging in Tennessee? How's the South rolling? I mean, we just got to, you sent out some links recently. I don't know if you got any updates you'd like to talk
Well, so
about.
that's a very loaded question tonight. We had a freezing rain last night, which has turned everything into just a blanket of ice over the world.
Would you say
It
Iceland?
is like an icy land. Yeah, some would call it Iceland. You're not so special anymore, Bjarni. So
Is that normal in Tennessee? I didn't know you guys had snow over
buddy,
there.
yeah. we could get into a weather thing, but we always get like at least one good snow, 4 to 5 inches a year, maybe 2. And then like freezing rain is a thing that we deal with in late winter, maybe 2 or 3 times. But last night it was pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah. In my mind, the South is always like snow free.
No.
Maybe Tennessee and South. I don't know.
If you want to break it down, like really and truly, we're right on the Mason-Dixon line. Like Kentucky claims the North. Tennessee was the last state to join the Confederacy, though. We were the last state to join the Confederacy, and we were the first state to rejoin the Union. We were very much on the fucking fence. But we make fun of people in Kentucky as being sort of more southern in quotes than we are because of general actions that they have. But it's not like a Louisiana, and it's not like a Texas, and it's not, more equatorial. We still get big shit sometimes.
We got Nashville.
Yeah, we do have the Grand Ole Opry. If you haven't touched Dolly Parton, you're not a real Tennessean. That sort of stuff. But no, it's been good. And yeah, we've got a couple of updates on Where Deer. We're now on Rough Cut version 1.5. We've tweaked a couple of things there. I spent a lot of the day over at the laundromat helping Scripty from the reshoots, Kirsten Collins. She's making a teaser trailer for a short film that she's doing, and I busted her chops a little bit and was like, so we're making a trailer for a short? And she's like, trust me, it's like 20 to 30 minutes. And I said, okay, it's a length that could...
Did you film in the laundromat? Yes, you're in the laundromat
We
again.
will be in the laundromat on Friday, so the day before this comes out.
Famous laundromat.
World famous fucking laundry tub. Yeah, all day long.
Just picture people trying to wash their clothes and like a camera guy like bumping on them, and they're like just trying to live their lives.
That is so close to reality. Yeah. And then when I do lock the doors for shoots, I always have to deal with at least 1 to 2 angry people outside. Well, like, why are you doing? It's the other thing that we do here, sir, besides, having a laundromat open. We do sometimes shoot films here. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Well, how many dumb things are you going to do? And everybody tells me it's dumb.
Brutal.
They're not wrong. They're not wrong.
They're just jealous.
They just want to do their laundry.
They just want to do their laundry is all it is. And I am complicating their lives. But yeah, no, so like apart from that, it's pretty mundane. Still benched from the grip shop. So they hired on a kid full time, and because I do all of this other stuff, I couldn't go on full time. So now I am low-key benched.
Ooh.
Yeah, what do you do? It happens.
Fuck
them. Exactly. So you know what comes next? I'm looking for at-home, what do you call it? Closed captioning gigs. So I've been online, like looking for a bunch of at-home closed captioning jobs.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Well, good luck. I mean, hopefully, I'm also in the same boat. So good luck.
Yeah, low-key benched from the gig, the logger or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, still doing sound, so
Done.
Getting somewhere, but it's not as fun. Nicole, how's it hanging over in the West Coast?
Everything's been good. So I mean,
You got nice rain, right? Everything's probably sunny.
I was gonna say I don't even have to talk about the weather here. I don't want everyone to hate me even more than they probably already do. I mean, the summers here get brutally hot, like 115. Like where I live in California is inland. It gets fucking hot. Los Angeles, if I lived there, yeah, we could never talk about the weather. Forget it. It's perfect. Everything's been good. So I sometimes I really do nothing and really love it. And I was thinking to myself recently, wow, do I really not have a life? And I was like, wait, no, I do. I just like turn things down. Like people like invited me to do things this last weekend. And like I was like on Saturday night, I was like, wow, what a loser. I was like, wait, no, I like turned down multiple plans like to stay in. So I watched all of Bling Empire New York. Are you guys familiar with that show? No? Okay, then let me hit pause on that. And then the next night, I watched all of the White Lotus season 2. Are you guys familiar with the White Lotus? No?
Yeah, I peeked a bit of White Lotus. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I probably it soon.
Have you watched the first season? Like,
no, roommate Fernando just started season 2, and he was like, "It's like an anthology, so you can just kind of hop on." So I was like, "All right," and I just like hung out for like 2 episodes. Damn, this is pretty good. I'm kind of into
the White
it.
Lotus that protect the Avatar?
Yes.
That's the only White
shout out
Lotus.
to roommate Fern. But I would argue I guess it's kind of an anthology, but the storylines do connect. But whatever. Great show, highly recommend. And Bling Empire New York is a trashy reality TV show that I watch about wealthy people in New York. That's it. I thought everyone would be more familiar with these when I brought them up, but they're not.
I see enough wealthy people in New York. I don't need to watch a reality show about them.
If I were still in New York, I probably wouldn't be as interested in watching them on TV. At a distance, it's okay, across the country.
I lived in Portland, Oregon during the height of Portlandia, and
I didn't know that.
It was an addiction to watch Portlandia just because of how accurate it was to the people around you. And Portlanders, they were furious the entire time. They're like, we're not like that. And I was like, fucking look in the mirror, bro. You're exactly like that. This is who everybody is.
I watched that show, when it was live, and I've actually never been to Portland, so it's kind of funny. But like, I feel like if you've been to Brooklyn, you've been to Portland. Maybe I'll go to Portland and not really think that's accurate, but the hipster nods felt pretty spot on.
Not anymore. Let me tell you, Portland is fucked up now. Like COVID, and not to be like, oh, it's all COVID's fault. But
it's all COVID's fault. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
but I don't know if I am actually.
During a bunch of the riots, like between 2019 and 2020, when things were getting super kind of hairy with all that, like Portland took a hit, and like I've said this to a lot of people in the past, and I'll continue to say it. Portland isn't aware of its own history to a point. They all want to participate in this notion of like, no, we're elevated thinkers, we're whatever here, we're open and embracing. On the city council, up until I think it's the mid 1960s, they had Klansmen on their city council. Portland is ridiculously like, and this will sound terrible too, and I don't mean it to, but there's a weird sort of racial undertone where everybody is very like to your face, and in public they say the right things, but it's sort of like they'll still cross the other side of the street. Like it's weird, sort of the dichotomy in Portland. And it's also, for being, as to borrow a term, as woke as it is, Portland is also very much like in the dark, so to speak. Like it's an interesting town.
Yeah, Portland. Yeah. So I guess I don't plan on going.
I mean, the weed's good. Yeah. Like the weed's good.
Is that why the riots were so big there? Because of all the sort of under the sort of the surface thing?
I do think so. I really do think so, because you do have this like sort of youth mentality, but even that sort of like kind of the inward fighting too, right? In the Pacific Northwest in particular, and I say this as a Southerner, like I come from outside of, I would say I'm maybe like 2 hours away from Pulaski, Tennessee, where the Klan was founded. So, whatever. Wow. We know our racist in the South. You know what I mean? Like it's baked into whatever, and you really do have to fight through culture. Of neo-Nazis, Proud Boys, like you could go to any fucking metal show, like at a shitty little.
Reeves just said the Green Room takes place in Portland.
Outside
Obviously,
Portland.
that movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? I actually own that movie on VHS. There's a guy called, I'm going to plug this guy, called a VHS Haven on Instagram.
I follow
Makes
him.
VHSs of modern movies. And I bought like The Witch and Green Room and Pineapple Express.
Oh,
Maybe I shouldn't have them. That's illegal. Anyways, I still haven't watched it. I have it on VHS, and it looks really interesting.
Oh, the Green
Isn't it
Room is
Stephen Lang?
Um,
Or was it Patrick Stewart? No, who was it? Who was it that played the
Patrick
is
Stewart,
old,
yeah.
like main bald, like neo-Nazi.
Yeah. But that takes place outside of Portland, and I think it's in southern Washington. But all the PNW, like the Pacific Northwest, is like rich with like horrible, like racist, sort of fascist kind of situation. And then when you had like Antifa blow up, the reason why I say don't go to Portland anymore is because. Sorry, I was sidebarred this whole.
Yeah, it was actually how California was.
I was just saying we should get back on track, but finish your thought, and then I could just talk about anything else.
Yeah, right. Instead of this terrible shit. I'm sorry, Nicole.
Yes. No.
I apologize.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, guys!
BJARNI Batman birthday bash.
We're bringing up the room. But no, Portland is taking a dump. Like the whole town is covered in all sorts of crazy graffiti from, anything and everything. All of downtown's been demolished. Like it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, that is sad. I forgot how we got to that point to begin with. Portlandia. Rich people in New York.
Rich people in New York.
Empire.
Yeah.
That's something that I've been watching at a distance. I don't know. I mean, I guess the thing, but there is, like, people are going to hate me for saying this, but I'm going to say it. The thing about having nice weather so often is that I, I'm not outside all the time. I do take it for granted, absolutely. Where, maybe I should be getting a bit more, vitamin D, you know what I mean? And instead I'm, on my couch playing The Sims or, you take
Noah out, don't you?
That's true. I do take him on very long walks all the time. I am clueless of my life. It really is very nice. So everything's been very nice in California, James. I can't complain, really.
Well, it sounds fun. I'm glad. Hopefully, we'll hang out soon. It should be coming out there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Yes. James and I are planning on meeting up in LA and going to our friend Liam Reagan's screening of Eating Miss Campbell.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Doesn't that also have? Is it moderated by the Kevin Smith?
Well, that one's in New York Jersey, and then
Oh.
the week later, they're doing it in LA, like the East Coast and then West Coast premiere, which Lloyd and both me will be at. So it'll be a good time.
Nice.
Yeah.
There are two movies I can't wait to see. Eating Miss Campbell, and the other one's a small movie. I don't know if you heard of it. Curse of the Weirdeer.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I never talk about that movie ever.
Yeah. What do you talk? What's that movie? I never heard of it.
If we could once we get it done, you're tippy top on the list, BJARNI. Tippy top.
Yeah, speaking of movies too, I did finally see Spielberg's new movie, The Fableman, this week. No, I don't know if you guys have peeked and seen that movie at all. Anybody?
I've heard of it.
As a modern director, I haven't seen. I don't know which the last movie I saw with him, but
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of not that great. I mean, I always liked Ready Player One, but I always kind of lied to myself that I liked it. I want to really like it, so I keep telling myself I like it. But Fableman is actually really good. It's basically like an indie movie. It's like a coming-of-age indie movie, but shot like a Spielberg movie. All these big, wide lenses and, his fun camera moves and the kind of, aesthetic of all this stuff. And it's really good. Yeah, I blew me away. I actually thought it was awesome. So,
Cool.
yeah, and then so it's like an indie movie shot like a Spielberg movie. And then immediately went and watched a Spielberg documentary on HBO, which is also great. So I'd had a little bit of a Spielberg week.
Awesome.
Spielberg, we had a screening here in Iceland the other day of a 35 millimeter print of Jaws.
Oh, so cool.
Wow.
And
Wow. That's really cool.
I haven't seen it in at least 12 years, and seeing it again, on film on a big screen, I'm under contract by Troma not to praise Steven Spielberg, but
Yeah, I mean, I
liked
haven't
him.
watched
I'd
it in
say
a while
that's-
too, and I remember in film school they like was part of our thing. We're gonna watch Jaws, and at first I was just like, I don't know, I just felt like some pretentious film school kid. Where I was like, I don't want to watch Jaws. Like, can't we like watch anything else? But then we watched it, and I was like, this movie still fucking rules. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
so good.
And like
Yeah.
the documentary they talked about, just because obviously everyone knows the story, how everything was fucked up on set constantly, and he talked just about how they were just like, oh, we can't move the shark. Then he's like, oh wait, we have these barrels, so we'll just have the shark just pull shit in the water, and then boom, you think he's there. And like they show the whole scene with the dock, and the guy gets pulled in the dock, right? And it's just this dock floating in the water, but it's like you feel that tension. You're like, oh shit, this dock is coming towards you. It means this gigantic shark is coming towards you. So genius, so good.
It really shows like less is more, and it's funny. There's so many movies in cinema history that are sort of accidentally
Right.
perfect,
Mm.
and Jaws is definitely one of them. Another one's like Beverly Hills Cop,
Yeah,
I'd say.
watch that
I'm not saying
recently.
Beverly Hills Cop is from the same level as
Yeah.
Jaws, but that's another that like, oh, Eddie Murphy wasn't supposed to be in it, and the script was being rewritten constantly. And Ghostbusters, the same
Die
thing.
Hard
Like,
too.
yeah, like it was like movies that accidentally sort of everything sort
Just-
of
Yeah.
came together in production. And yeah, when you see it, you don't feel it. You don't feel like, oh, this was rushed or this.
Just wait until you see Curse of the Weredeer. The whole thing is a fucking accident, Bjarni. The whole thing. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say you'd add Curse the Weredeer to that list when it comes out.
Also, less is not more.
can't
It's like
wait.
more is more, right, Ben?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we're gonna throw everything we possibly can at everybody throughout the entire thing. When one dick would do, we put in 6 dicks, 6 getting ripped off. Like that's still the height.
Yes, but yeah, that's a lot we're doing. But Leo, how's it hanging in Astoria?
Oh, so first, our friend of the show, Rives, is asking if the Curse of Weredeer is a sequel of Weredeer, the Christmas movie. So that's it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my.
There's like another Weredeer. There's a I saw one time on IMDb. I was like, what? And they have a trailer, and I was like, the fuck?
That is so.
Well, Cuck Island's just a sequel to The Matrix anyway.
Man, listen, I got opinions about Cuck Island and a couple of things.
Anyway,
But
like, before we start fighting each other here, let me go back to Astoria. So I saw the other day that January was the warmest January ever in New York City.
I wonder
We still
what-
haven't seen like real
Believe it.
snow here. We've seen like little flakes every 3 weeks that last for 5 minutes. That's all. It's like crazy here.
That is.
Yeah, I've been outside in like a sweatshirt, skateboarding and shit. Like, it's nice. It's weird.
Oh, I go out in shorts sometimes. I was like, what the fuck? Like, whatever.
It was so funny because I felt that I stopped in New York for a small bit, and it was funny because it was winter and I knew it was going to be super cold, so I dressed for the occasion. And when I stepped outside it was so hot and I was sweating my
Yeah, no,
balls
it's
off.
like some days it's
So
getting like my wife right now is in Phoenix. Some days we're having the same temperature.
Fuck
Oh.
that. I didn't
Oh,
know that
my.
either.
Yeah, but so
Well,
go.
apparently, I got like an email from my landlord. It's supposed to hit like real fucking cold like next week. So
Oh yeah, we have a polar
Your landlord
vortex
emailed you about the-
coming in a couple of days, I think. So
yeah, so enjoy the sun while it lasts in New York.
yeah, so let me go. The stuff I was gonna talk about was the temperature. Oh yeah, White Lotus. Since we had like an easy watch this week, I kind of watched White Lotus, but I was watching The Last Airbender and then The Legend of Korra, and White Lotus is like a secret society with like badass motherfuckers. So yeah, that's the White Lotus I've been watching.
Oh, that one. Okay, I was gonna say, have you actually tuned into the HBO one?
No,
Okay.
it's like the Avatar, like the real Avatar. I saw like a video the other was like a real Instagram, someone making fun of that James Cameron's like, oh yeah, I created the Avatar, and then the second movie they go to this water people that's like the water tribe. The next one's gonna be the ash people that's like the Fire Nation. So like he's basically
Mhm.
now copying the whole Last Airbender too, basically.
Right. Oh, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
he
Oh my
already
gosh. Yeah,
copied
'cause I bet
Romeo
that's
and Juliet, Smurfs, Dance with Wolves, Pocahontas.
Waterworld.
What? I don't know. It's just-
The thing about Avatar is it's not it's not like original. That's it's simple and well made, and that's like the reason why people want to see it.
Yeah, I saw it in IMAX, and I
That's a good
probably
point.
won't ever see it again. You know, I saw it in IMAX. I was
Yeah.
like, "This is gorgeous." That was fun.
Avatar
never-
is an
Yeah.
expensive, you know, like those set of movies as like Meet the Spartans, date movie, scary movie.
Yep.
They
Yeah,
pick like
like,
every
who-
movie and throw on the screen. That's Avatar,
Yeah.
but with money and
movie?
not funny. Not that
Yeah.
those are all funny, but like they at
But-
least try to be.
You know what? Tell you what, though, I saw it. Like I said, I saw it in IMAX. I was high off an edible. I was chilling the fuck out. Felt like I was underwater. That's the way to see an Avatar. I'm telling you, there's no other way
I
to see
saw
it.
the
There's no way
I
to
saw
see
the
it.
first Avatar. I took 6 grams of mushrooms, and I
Oh,
felt like
Jesus.
I was on that alien planet. And
I
and
bet
I-
that was a great time.
told me
I
like
bet
it's
that
not
was
the
a really
best.
fun.
And I said like, you didn't see it on mushrooms then? Yeah, you should see it stoned off your ass, 100%.
Well, yeah.
I
If-
feel like every
Oh,
time
yeah.
I watch a movie, someone dives or whatever without equipment, I keep holding my breath, trying to see if I can survive in that situation. So I can't watch Avatar, I'm gonna die.
Yeah. Well, just eat an edible, and you won't be thinking that thought. So
That's how
Maybe
I
you're gonna be
feel-
worse.
well, actually,
That's-
yeah, I guess maybe
feel like-
potentially.
That's how I watched Titanic too, and I felt like I was going down on that ship the entire time on a head full.
You know what?
Yeah.
Every time I watch Titanic, I like stop it at the third act, like right as the ship goes down. I'm like, no. I liked this movie instead, where they're a happy couple.
Oh, you like before the shipwreck?
Oh.
That's a first.
Yeah, like I've seen the
I love
shipwreck.
the shipwreck. I think is the best part, but I guess that's what
Like I've seen,
says something about
like
me.
I've said, well, it's like very well made. Like I've seen that part, but like now if I watch Titanic again, like I won't. Yeah, I won't. like that.
You want the romance. I just want that ship to
I
explode.
want
You know?
DiCaprio to paint me like one of his French girls. You know what I mean? So yeah, I want him. To, my God.
Oh, and one last thing too
Yeah.
before
The-
we move on to the topic of the day. Last Friday I got like my first like photographer gig. The friend of the show, Sean Barry from also Shitstorm.
Sean Barry. I got to get you on this podcast, Sean Barry.
Oh yeah,
You're
we
not
definitely
listening.
need him here.
Miss you.
He got me this gig to take pictures of this comedy show that was really really cool. It's like a puppy cafe that like sometimes I have puppy comedy too, but even that one not
Wait,
being
there's
puppy
a
comedy.
puppy cafe. Like you just go to a cafe and it's just
full
filled
of
with
dogs.
puppies.
Yeah.
So
And-
I can experience Ben's birthday every day.
yes. Like even this one that was just a regular comedy show, there was like at least 4 dogs there.
Wow,
Awesome.
cool. That's
Great.
awesome. I've been to a cat cafe, but I haven't been to a.
Oh,
A
I'm
dog
gonna
cafe.
die if I
Like-
try to go that one, even though I kind of want to go, but like
Was it in Brooklyn or Queens?
There's
that
a-
was like
Yeah.
a Lower East Side. I think there's like a cat cafe
Okay.
in Brooklyn that I saw a video one time about it.
No, puppy cafe. That's where I want to go.
Yeah, the puppy is like Avenue A and 12th Street, something like this.
Awesome. That sounds
So
really fun.
it's really cool. I recommend if you're in New York, go to the puppy cafe. It's just like they're not the fan of when people clapping for the new comedian to walk in because the puppies start like barking. So
Tell them, puppies. Tell them to shut up.
it's like a really cool thing. First time someone pay me for my picture, so that was
Yeah, I mean,
was cool.
BJARNI,
Congrats.
you're a stand-up comedian. Like, how do you like if you're doing a stand-up show at like a puppy cafe? You know, you can handle when people talk back to you, but what do you do when like a puppy's talking back to you?
If I get heckled by a dog, I'd kill myself. I don't know if I can handle that.
You know, just sit.
Be like, shut up, bitch.
Right. and then you have to check how many like tits the dog has, just to make sure you haven't offended anybody when you say, call her a bitch. Yeah, I got you.
Politically correct.
But at least it was just dogs there. There was like no bat, so that's no bat, man.
No bat.
No bat at all.
It's right, because it is the BOYLAN BJARNI Batman birthday bash. That's right.
When
Nice
you
abbreviation.
said one last thing, I thought you were gonna say as the epilogue, right? To my that's where I thought
missed that
you were
one.
going. One last thing.
Catch.
That would have been
I was
good.
gonna
would've
say
been
today
good.
is the last show of Total Toonular, so
The next one will
Today's
be our
epilogue.
epilogue. Yeah.
Now, before we really get into it, because this is one of my favorite Batman stories episodes ever. But Nicole, you are, we talk about this every time we do a superhero thing because you are the least superhero person out of anyone. So watching this episode, I mean, I remember you did like Batman the animated series, but watching this episode as itself, I mean, how lost did you feel? Or were you-
Very. Oh my god, I have so many questions. And I watched it 3 times, and like, I mean, mind you, I also threw it on in the background, you know, like I was in and out. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be so lost this week. I felt like watching it 3 times helped, but I was also like,
Yeah, because it goes through basically three different times at once.
yeah, I see. And you know what? I did catch 3. Wait, no, I've only caught 2 timelines. Wait, no, I don't fucking know. I don't know. I'll need you guys to tell me what happened.
It's and that's one of the things I really love about the show is that how between conversations they cut between the flashback
I like
and
that.
what's currently happening in the future, and of course then she tells the story, and it's just so beautifully constructed. And we can, of course, attribute that to the writers. We have the late great Dwayne McDuffie and Bruce Timm, who are probably the best sort of writers that
because there's no reason this episode should be as deep and as good as it is. Like, it's just a kid show that was going to air on like Saturday morning, you know? Like, I remember watching this I'm younger and just being confused of like, wait, why are this Batman Beyond all of a sudden? Like, I just remember it just aired. Like, you know, there was no like, when I watched, there was no, I didn't see anything before it. It was just like, oh, wait, this is grown up Batman Beyond. What the fuck? What's happening here?
Right, that's because there's like a movie called Batman Beyond, right?
It's a show.
A TV show, but they also did a movie called Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker.
Oh, okay.
So this is all part of people have called it the Timverse. I guess a more appropriate title would be the Paul Dini / Bruce Timverse.
Definitely of both of them.
It started with Batman the Animated Series in 1992. Then it's Batman the Mask of Phantasm. You have the Superman the Animated Series, New Batman and Robin Adventures, Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond, and Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. And this is probably the greatest comic book universe to exist outside of comics. I'd say even better than Marvel.
I mean,
because it has
all the shit they did. I mean, they changed comics. You know what I mean? Like characters they just did.
Wow.
I mean, Harley Quinn, you know, the best example. But shit that they like did affected the way everybody looks at comics or this character in the future. Still,
Mr. Freeze, for example, still like considered a lackluster 50s garbage villain until they did. I think it was called Heart of Ice.
I think they won an Emmy too for that episode, like a daytime.
That's pretty cool.
Completely changed his entire character in the comics and made him based on what they did in the show.
So,
What you say, Nicole?
No, I was just gonna ask. So Bjarni, I mean, I'm gonna ask you the obvious, but I would just love to hear you talk about it. So you're a big Batman fan, then?
Yes, I love the Batman. He's I think one of the greatest. Batman and Superman are totally like up there as some of the greatest comic book characters of all time. And of course, thanks to the writers and artists and people that have worked on them for so long. And I mean, there's no way you're going to survive for 80 years as a comic book character unless there's something there that people like.
Wow.
You know, there are other characters that people have forgotten about because, you know, they disappeared because of bad writing or whatever. Because 80 years of comics is a very long time, so there's a lot of continuity stuff and reimaginings and all that. So when Bruce Timm and Paul Dini came on board, and I think it's that. Speaking of the man, I think it's because of Spielberg. Spielberg sort of helped create this sort of
doing Tiny Toons. Like they were doing Tiny Toons because I know that's how they got orchestra music in Batman is because Spielberg wanted orchestra music for Tiny Toons. So it was there, and they were able to use it and get actual orchestra, Danny Elfman stuff in the show.
It was this sort of renaissance of cartoons, this sort of love letter to cartoons, and And it really ends like today. We're never going to see anything hand drawn like that again. We have painted backgrounds and stuff like that. And because
it's not even just like drawing and painting those backgrounds. They're like full, almost dolly shots and flying through the cities and shit like that, and all hand drawn, which is crazy.
And what was good was that Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, and all these guys loved the comic books, so they could take, at that time, not 80 years, I think it was 60 years of stories, and condense them and start from the beginning and say, so what are we going to take? What are we going to use? We're going to take elements from this and this and this and make it all very coherent. I know people that will never read the comics, but they love this cartoon universe.
Yeah, I mean, that was my intro, because I didn't read a lot of Batman comics as a kid, and I just remember seeing Batman Forever, and then it was like this show was on TV, and that's what like got me into Batman and getting to more Batman comics and shit. But did you watch Justice League Unlimited? Did you watch any of this on air at all?
I had Cartoon Network as a kid. The European Cartoon Network, of course. And I watched this religiously. And then eventually I started airing it on Channel 1. We have like 3 channels. And Channel 1 is like the big one owned by the government. It was the state channel.
Dubbed over? Did you watch it dubbed? Like, was it like dubbed with different voices?
They dubbed the Batman cartoons. And then when they did Justice League, they just decided to put subtitles because they knew it was mostly older kids watching it. So they didn't dub it. But, it was amazing. I mean, it's what got me into the Batman comics 100%. Because again, like, where do you start with the comics? I know I had Batman Year One. I had like Long Halloween, but I didn't know the timeline because it's so all over the place. So definitely, the cartoons is what, and it was especially the Justice League shows, because that introduces you into the DC universe. That got me into The Question, got me into
it's crazy
Captain Atom.
They pull out like there's like the Human Tornado. No, there's like Vigilante, like the cowboy dude. There's one who's just a night.
Kind of like Booster Gold. I was happy that he's coming now for real. James bringing him.
Yeah. I did not see the Human Tornado in here. There was no Dolomite. There was no Rudy Ray Moore. I disagree. I don't think the Human Tornado exists in this world. I'm just saying.
Well, he's not a human. He's the Red Tornado.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good.
Because he's.
But yeah, that show got me into it. Without this show, I would not. Now I'm a huge Batman fan, and I figured out the timeline. I read almost everything in the post-crisis continuity. I've read almost everything there. Don't like New 52, but yeah, it's because of the show.
Now, this is
Batman.
Because for me, at least, watching this episode too now, as like an adult, like I didn't realize how like deep this episode gets. I didn't really like see like this like why like this whole episode's about why Batman's so important, right, to the world, and like why Batman needs to exist. I remember watching as a kid, being like, "Oh, this is cool. It's just Batman Beyond older. It's like a cool story." Now I'm watching it, all these like, and I feel like I have a different perspective watching it as an adult now. And do you feel the same way?
Well,
it hits me the same way. Totally. Like other than you, like I have the same sort of admiration for it, and I didn't really pick up anything new watching it, unfortunately.
So to kind of backtrack a little bit, you're talking about the writing, and I didn't watch this stuff when I was younger. I didn't have cable till I was in college, and then by the time I was in college, I was not really watching like a lot of superhero cartoons. One of the things that struck me is right at the beginning, once Batman gets into Amanda Waller's home, right? And they're having their discussion, and it's that first sort of like little flashback, and it's about the tea, and he smacks the tea out of her hand. They talk, and then they're having this like they're having two separate conversations with each other.
He's talking about broken,
Batman.
his life being broken. Yeah, being Batman.
And like that right there to me is just like exceptional writing. And at a point when I looked at it's while I was watching earlier, it's one of those things where it almost you could see it on a page inside of like two different panels. You know what I mean? Like half of the page would be like Batman, the other half would be Waller, and then you could see where the bubbles would sort of come in if it was on a page. Like it's kind of way.
Yeah, because you also were like looking in two directions. Like she was down looking at the tea set, and he's like kind of up looking at the ceiling. You know, they're both in the opposite directions.
That was great.
I felt like you could see the page break.
Dwayne McDuffie started off as a comic book writer, so I think that definitely helps sort of keep it very comic book.
Yeah, you could feel it. I mean, like seriously, again, as a kid that didn't really watch a lot of this, my Justice League was Super Friends. That's what I grew up on as a kid.
I don't think Super Friends ever got this deep.
No, nowhere near this deep, bro. Not at all. I like. And it's from there, and I've already kind of joked a little with Reeves about it, but this movie also stole something from.
Yeah, I'm sure Reeves is still in the chat, and technically, this came out, before Cuck Island.
Nobody says time travel's not real, bro.
This came out in February 2005.
Yeah.
Well, Reeves wrote the first draft of Cuck Island because. One of the twists in this movie is that Terry McGinnis' dad got cucked with Bruce's DNA.
Yup.
Oh,
yeah, I was thinking that, and also I was like, is this guy kind of like Jesus? Like going back to Jesus earlier? The son of...
Superheroes love their Jesus metaphors, but it's usually like a Superman thing.
Yeah.
The thing, I was Batman Beyond is something that I disliked a lot as a kid.
I love Batman Beyond.
What I liked about I didn't like hate it, but as far as like all the shows in this universe, I disliked it the most because I really loved the universe that they were building up and sort of going into the future where all the characters are sort of not there anymore. I didn't like that. But this episode really made me like Batman Beyond, and you really Terry McGinnis because they sort of retcon him into Damian Wayne basically, and I always liked the idea of Batman having a son. And
pre-Damian Wayne too, before he was even like a thought.
Yeah, well they sort of introduced the idea of Damian Wayne in a story called Birth of the Demon, which is from 1990. So Batman has a son in that, and they didn't that's what Damian Wayne comes from.
Oh, okay.
Morris wanted to reference the entire history of Batman, so it's like actually. In this one story written by Mike V. Barr, Batman has a son, so I'm going to bring him back. But so this made me really appreciate Batman Beyond. And it's funny because I think Bruce Timm talked about this, and I think Paul Dini did too, that they wanted to just continue doing the show. But Cartoon Network executives, or Warner Brothers executives, were so scared of kids being bored with a show. So they always had to cancel a show and revamp it, and that's why we had Batman and the new Batman and Robin Adventures. Why we had Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
And switch from like the style switch too from Batman the Animated Series because they went for like a cheaper style because I know because the original Batman the Animated Series I know was super expensive.
But it was like part of the sort of deal was they had to rebrand and had to change. Do different character designs and all that. And one of the things they kept getting notes about was that, and this is something that they somehow thought that kids only want to watch kids. And this is an old
that's
sales
why we
marketing.
Have Robin in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they had a 9-year-old Anakin Skywalker in Phantom Menace because people think that kids aren't going to be able to relate to anyone unless they see another kid. So something the executives kept saying is, we want to do a young Adventures of Batman. And Paul Dini and Bruce Timm hated it, and they were going to walk off. And then eventually they came to the idea, okay, what if Bruce Wayne is old and he finds a protege and it's in the future? And that's how they it was like damage control. Like, we have to do this, but we'll do it like this. And I think it was
I love that. I love that take on it. I love Terry McGinnis. I love the futuristic Neo Gotham. And Return of the Joker is one of the best animated movies ever. Like that's one of my favorite Batman movies.
Yeah. And Mask of Phantasm, I think, is they made it look like Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Based on Citizen Kane. And I definitely think it's like the Citizen Kane of Western animated movies. And of course, in that one, they introduce the Reaper, which is a character from Batman Year 2.
Yeah.
And the Reaper, of course, is the person who was going to kill
Like,
Terry McGinnis's parents.
so like that's why I love this shit. To me, this thing is the perfect finale of all of Batman the Animated Series, because it just brings all those stories literally to a conclusion. Like, you got Mask of Phantasm. They've mentioned Return of the Joker too. You got Justice League in there. Like, it literally ties it all together.
So, it is the perfect.
And they finish the same way that it started the whole universe on the Batman too.
Yeah, the last shot in this episode is the first shot in the first episode of Batman the Animated Series.
So you guys probably mentioned it while I was dealing with my dog. I apologize. But the Gray Ghost, that's the kid that he's coming out of. That's the one like Easter egg that I got that I really like, that I noticed from yeah. I thought that was exceptional. I love it.
And I do want to talk about you because Amanda Waller is like a big part in the show, and like this, and everything leading up to this, Amanda Waller is always just the most horrible, deceptive person that like exists. And then you get this episode that shows us like humanity side to her when she learns of like why Batman is important. So, and I remember seeing that as a kid and being like, I never expected I remember turning on Amanda Waller like that and being surprised.
Well, that's what happens to old people. That's what happens to old people.
Oh, no. Sad.
Well, she said she had a turn, because this is my favorite part of the episode. I mean, it's when they go to the actual Justice League stuff, and then it's like the Royal Flush Gang is like fucking up the world, and then like Amanda Waller goes to Batman, and she's like, you have to kill this chick. She's fucking everything up. And Batman's like, all right, I'll go deal with it. But then he just talks to her. Like, he just sits there, like he listens to her. She talks about how all she's been doing is being used and tortured by either Amanda Waller and Cadmus, by all these different Royal Flush Gangs. And Batman was just like, I'll just sit here and I'll listen to you talk. Because he knew that he wasn't even going to kill her. He throws the thing away.
Well, but she's dying. So that's the thing that I don't understand. And I don't know if it's explained in another episode or somewhere in the comics. But is Ace like a thing outside of this?
The Royal Flush Gang are characters from the comic book, and they show them, I think, in season 1 of the original Justice League. Yeah, the original Royal Flush Gang shows up
too, because they talk about, Amanda Waller says it in the episode. She's like, I don't know which Royal Flush Gang this is. I can't keep track of all of them.
Got it.
But if I recall correctly, the first Royal Flush Gang were like henchmen of the Joker in the comics, that is, in the 50s.
Well, on the other show, they were also right. It wasn't like a bunch of bombs around Vegas or something like this, and like they were all with Joker.
Well, they were all just still card themed. They were always like I remember that then they were like jewelry robbers. They would like dress like card people and have like weird like powers, but they're card costumes.
So,
if I recall, this is the second appearance of Ace in the cartoon show. I don't know if she shows up ever in the comics.
Yes,
but she shows up in season 1, I think, and then they show her here dying, which is like
I remember too. So I know she's the one who gives them because like earlier there's an episode where I know she's like giving them the powers and stuff like that. But this is where it gets like they didn't mention her before like this, that she's dying, that like whatever they were doing to her is like she's exhausting all her power. She's gonna die anyway.
So that's what that is. Okay, because that's where I left it like a little confused, was like, how is she dying? They don't really tell you. Batman doesn't say anything other than, I know you're dying. Like, that sort of a thing, right? And then she's like, I don't have much longer. And he's like, yep, you ain't. And then they sit there and hold each other's hands, and he brings her out. It's very touching. It's very, very touching.
And that's why it's like the best Batman story ever. Just because for like that moment, just like alone, it's like Batman's feel like is always known to be the guy who keeps beating up all the poor people, and it's like
every
to show this
person.
Like side of Batman,
every beat in there.
Yeah. But this side of Batman who can like he knows this chick is dying, and like he knows that she's only acting out because of all this torture that she keeps being put through, and it's like if you decide he's just gonna hang out with her, and then all this will go away, and it's just. And you see when he walks away, like this like sadness in his face, even through his like Batman mask, and And so that's what turns Amanda Waller. Because that's when she starts seeing why Batman is so important. Because he's the only one who can keep it real.
The world needs a Batman. The world needs a Batman.
And also she's saying that like you don't
Yeah,
need
wait.
superpowers. You have like Superman in a group and all those people, and Batman always beats everybody just being smart.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask a question. Oh wait, sorry, were we done with that
Yeah,
topic? Or
wait.
should wait, but I do have a question. So wait, so who is she? Like, why does she? Okay, so yeah, so like I got that she like created Batman, but also is she Batman's enemy,
Yeah,
or is
she's like the
Batman-
government, basically, who's trying to fight the Justice League. Like she.
Oh, so why did she make a Batman?
Oh, sorry.
Wait, sorry, say that again.
He's like the Nick Fury of DC.
I don't know if Nicole watch a lot of. The thing
I
is,
was
like
gonna
she's
say,
in
I
the
don't even
government.
know.
She doesn't believe anyone need to have all the power that the superheroes have. So she always try to have one up on them in case they go crazy. She has a way to stop them, but she doesn't have like
Okay.
like she would do anything that you need to do to win. Like she even go to a route that it's not like the most ethical or whatever. Like she just need to win.
Yeah, she's gonna hide some government
So
shit.
then,
You
like,
know.
why make someone on the opposing team? Like, that's what I didn't get.
Because that's what she figures out, because she's been against Batman and the Justice League for so long, and then her whole plan of like, let's just murder this kid doesn't work, and she like finally sees his importance in Batman that she never saw before. And then that's why she's like, we need to keep having a Batman, because even like she said, she's been around all the other superheroes, and none of them measure up to what it means to be Batman and what he's gonna do to always, help out people. But he is human, so he's still getting old, so she has to kind of.
So I guess that's my like what I don't get though. Still, like, and like I'm not asking this as a cynic. I'm asking this as like someone that's trying to understand the dynamic. Like, if you're Batman's enemy, why create a new Batman to
Like,
keep fighting against them? Why not
She's
just
not like the enemy.
Well, there's
She
actually-
just want to be prepared because like you have Superman. That's the most powerful creature on Earth, but he's like an alien and whatever. Like, but she's thinking like, what if he go crazy? He's gonna kill everybody. So she always wanna. She's always basically like a female Batman without being Batman. Also, she kills. That's like something Batman never.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
she's
like
too
she's
hard
always
most
trying
of
to
the
be one
time.
step ahead of everybody and having all the measures to stop no matter who, even though you're good now, but she's like, I don't know if tomorrow you're not gonna be good. So she always
Oh, so she wants to be like she wants to have someone at least human on the other team to like at least have.
It's not just human, because there's other humans too. It's just something that who is Batman, because what Batman represents is something just bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It's also because, like, if you look at just how the U.S. government in real life functions, CIA and the military-industrial complex, it's very common throughout history that they do support dictators and all that, support people, even finance their enemies and stuff, just because they want a deterrent to fight someone else in like proxy wars and stuff. So from that point of view, the U.S. government, even if they don't trust the superheroes, they would still want them around so they can use them to do the shit they're not allowed to do or not capable of doing. So,
And Batman will always make the right decision, because I think too, with a lot of other superheroes, not that they're easily corruptible, but they're not as like I feel like Batman's the one you trust, the one who's going to ground, because he doesn't even hang out with the Justice League. He's always off. Like, he's the one who's going to call out the Justice League on their shit before even.
And even he has like a
Oh,
measure
yeah.
to stop every other hero. Is
Right.
Justice League that there's like an episode that they all keep getting defeated, and then Batman's like, yeah, that was all my plan that I have for you guys, and they're just using it.
There's also a movie. What is
movie.
it? It's
Justice
Doom.
League,
There you go. Where Batman he's collected everybody's weakness together. Yeah. That I've seen that. I know a little bit about that. That was when James gave me his DC login, and I went on a binge. Yeah.
RIP.
R.I.P.
RIP.
DC stream.
Did you have the DC app at all?
what?
Did you have the DC app at all?
No, it was not available in Iceland. But I did see Justice League Doom, and I read the comic that's based on. And I mean, it's sort of a meme that, but it's also a known fact that Batman can defeat anyone if he has enough prep time.
Right.
And Batman has to plan everything ahead. And I mean, some of the best stories. Have you guys? I don't know. Are any of you comic book people?
Dude, I'll be honest with you. The biggest comics that I've ever gotten into is Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is the one that hit the most home for me. Swamp Thing, I read through Preacher. So I'm spotty with comics, and it really sort of depends on what it is in particular for me.
I might recommend Grant Morrison's run on Batman.
That's
I
the
think
movie
Grant
we're
Morrison.
getting at. That's what James Gunn just said he's making.
That's why I'm so excited now.
You know what? It's such a big Amanda Waller episode, and he just announced that Amanda Waller is getting her TV show with Viola Davis. So that's going to be sick.
Wow, that is sick.
Grant Morrison made the best Batman run of all time, and in that run, he really showcases his prep time because these villains, that's basically like the Illuminati of the DC universe called the Black Glove, they poison him and sort of fuck him over, and they sort of almost erase his mind. But what he has made in his head is like a switch. So when they fuck over Bruce Wayne, he just turns that on and becomes like totally unconsciously Batman. So he's just like keeping everyone up, even he's not even aware of it. He's like super drugged out and doesn't know what's going on, but he just has like the safety switch in his mind.
That's amazing.
In the animated series when like Mad Hatter takes over his Bruce Wayne's mind and he puts him like in sleep, and he knows the Mad Hatter is fucking with his brain because he doesn't see himself as Bruce Wayne in his head. He always sees himself as Batman.
He's aware. So that's why it's so fun to read his stories, because people put him in these situations where he can't get out. And in one of the Grant Morrison stories, like they bury him in a coffin and you think he's gonna die, and people have been backstabbing him, and then he just gets up and he's like, yeah, no, I knew all your plans and I've been playing you.
But that even ties to this, where it's like most people think prep time, where it's like, oh, I can get out and fight this guy, whatever. But I think prep time makes sense for this episode too, because he knew this girl was dying. He obviously prepped and planned this all beforehand and knew that if he just gets down there and takes over the control from Waller, that he can, not have to murder, then like let her just.
He can basically save her.
Yeah.
Because if Waller goes in, she's going to get killed, and he has such a strict no-kill policy. Even if you're about to die, he wants you to die naturally.
Right.
And it's also brutal because in this show, they actually say the kill word. Like usually, the censors were so hard on cartoons at the time that saying kill was not allowed. But I guess they got through with it because he doesn't kill her. So I guess they got away with it just because of that. But it's amazing that they have that in the episode.
Well, and that, I mean, dude, like that's my question. So yeah, you're right. Like you don't hear kill a lot in cartoons, and I think you're 100% right in the fact that it is the notion of allowing her to die with dignity, also as opposed to killing. It's like we don't have to kill, in order
and
for.
Especially on her end, right? I mean, she could still just be angry. Like you come in there hot, she gets more angry, and she can just annihilate even more shit before she dies, right? So it's like, make sure nobody else dies and kind of control it.
She could take you out bigger and worse. We have not yet mentioned how Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD joined that gang, though.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I totally forgot.
I think maybe she watched the movie because she created that.
Yeah, right?
Because when she died, everybody go back to normal.
It is 2005, so it would have been out already.
Oh yeah, no, Kabuki
That
Man is very a thing. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Kabuki theater is a thing, and there's always a chance people are just referencing the Kabuki arts, but you have to wonder.
Definitely Sergeant Kabuki Man.
I mean, BJARNI, come on, dude. Like that, the red and black there, that is.
I mean, he looked so much like him. I think it's
like they already copied Secret of Cock Island, so.
Paul Dini's just a real big fan of like indie horror, 10 years in the future.
Reeves said that they reverse stole the idea, so.
They reverse stole it.
You know what? it probably is 100% a Kabuki Man reference because they do reference Toxic Avenger in Tiny Toons.
There you go.
Actually,
Yes.
Oh,
What's the? Do you
but
remember the
wasn't
bit?
Toxic Avenger a Marvel?
The green Daffy Duck. I forgot the name. 'Cause he's a
Plucky
different-
the Duck.
Plucky Duck. He dresses up as a fictional vigilante called the Noxious Revenger.
Oh wow. Well, there you.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Huh.
And that was written by Bruce Timm, and this is written by Bruce Timm. So
And
I'll come full circle.
Wow.
there was also a at least a pilot that was made, and if not a full-blown pilot, then maybe like a 10-minute this is what it could be Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD cartoon that never made it to air. And this feels very similar to the makeup of the character on that cartoon.
Oh yeah, because there's like the test
Yep.
footage or whatever. It's like 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
I think it's like 5, and it's let the sushi hit the fan was the catchphrase.
Yep.
Motto. And yeah, that was really good. And everyone I've seen it that I know of like this should have been a show, and I think it could have done well, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. Every time, and the action figures would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the evil one action figure? How cool would that be? You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Dude, you could have like sushi throw-in action figures. You know, that would have been amazing.
So
Like,
let me.
you
Oh, sorry, Ben. Go ahead.
No, you sell to little kids like chopsticks that you can like make fly, and it's literally just chopsticks that you just throw, but you sell them for like $20. You know, like it's
Like
amazing.
Disney try to sell like that spoon from Toy Story 4. You know what I'm talking about?
the
Plastic
spork or
shit.
Yeah,
whatever.
they absolutely did. Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
My God.
What were you saying, Leo?
Oh no, I was gonna say now that we kind of like mixing trauma superheroes, and you guys also mentioned some of the James Gunn announcement. What do you guys thought of like I know it's not the whole lineup, but like the stuff coming up now that he announced?
All of it
I'm
looks
so
awesome.
good.
I mean, like the Wonder Woman show, I think kind of sounds like whatever, like the Game of Thrones on Themyscira. I guess that sounds cool, but I mean, everything else seems pretty fucking awesome.
Well, like Themyscira, like even if they just copy like Wonder Woman movies, because the only part I like in the movies is when they're in an island and Wonder Woman wasn't there. So if they keep the way,
Really, I always thought the opposite. I liked her when there was outside the
I don't
island.
know,
better.
especially the second
but-
movie. Like the first movie was,
second
I like
movie's-
it, but the second one
Yeah.
was so bad. The only good part of the movie is in the island when it was
Yeah,
more
I'll
about
say
other
that.
people.
I didn't like the second one at all. But the new movies sound awesome. I mean, this new Superman movie that they say is kind of based off Grant Morrison, and like not Grant Morrison. It was All-Star Superman. Who wrote that?
Grant Morrison.
That was Grant Morrison. Yes.
We got pissed with the
that-
whole Henry Cavill kind of thing, because in a way, like I like him as Superman and everything, but I understand that's like a 7-10 year plan. Like you need someone young.
BJARNI, you posted this a while ago, and it sticks with me every time I think about it. Because, I do like Henry Cavill, but you know what? Fuck the Snyderverse. Because you're right, BJARNI. Snyder fans are just a QAnon of, like, the superhero fan base. They're horrible. They should
True.
go away. I like this, and I like the Snyder Cut, too. But you know what? I want these movies way more.
Yeah. I also love the Snyder Cut, but the Snyder bots can go fuck themselves.
They're horrible.
And they're they're just like the QAnon people, because every time I meet a QAnon person, they're like, "Trust the plan. In a couple of days, Trump will be reinstated as president." And the Snyder fans are the same.
Candidates
They're
call
like,
me.
"Yeah, a couple of days, we're gonna get Justice League 2." It's like, no, it's over. Get over it. Stop living in denial. Leave me alone. Stop throwing your toxic energy onto the internet. Nobody likes you. And I'm just, it's so good to finally. We should 100% start anew. We have James Gunn now. He's going to have good creative control.
Did you see what he was saying about it too? He was like, "I just want to focus on story. Like all this is a giant mess. It's all terrible." And he literally said this. He was like, "It's all terrible, and like I need to bring it together. Like there's no vision here whatsoever."
So
I wonder how they're gonna do with the contracts now too, because I kind of like the idea that if you make a video game, animation, a movie, or a TV show, all gonna be the same actors.
That's a fair point, because also animation they're doing, so it's like that is true. I don't know how an actor would get through that contract. That's got to be expensive, and I don't know. Yeah, scary.
I woke
Oh,
up.
all the
to a
actors gonna
mess.
be unknown people to be cheaper.
But
Because
still,
like
even
they're showing like a lot of, especially like the
Yeah.
Marvel TV shows, they're getting a lot of like they're not like, oh, let's go Robert Downey Jr., Samuel L. Jackson. Like let's just get someone new, and we also want to be like younger to drag as long as we can, and
Well, I
it's
mean,
gonna be cheaper.
so Nicole and BJARNI, you guys like the most acting people here. I mean, would you sign a contract like that? Right. So it's like,
100%. Yeah.
because that's
Say what it is
signing
again?
like 10 years of your life. Like, so let's say, Nicole, you just got cast as Wonder Woman, or they're about to be cast you as Wonder Woman in the DC universe. But it's not just movies, right? You have to also now voice act, be in video games, wherever they're like probably rides, doing some like video for some Wonder Woman ride. So that's like, and then also the movies and probably crossover movies,
Right.
cameos. So it's got to be like 10 years of your life you're signing away. I mean, I know the movie's
Right.
going to be good, but would I don't know, would you do it?
The answer is no, not at the age I am now. So I'm turning 31 this month, actually, end of the month.
This
So
is
not, huh?
a bash.
Birthday bash.
It is a birthday.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So I guess I am a part. Yeah, I know. I think it's very funny. Quick aside. So Leo and Ben share a birthday month, which is January, and James and I
Bjarni.
share a
Oh.
birthday month.
I actually
So-
never thought about
And
that. I think
Bjarni,
I'd realize. Yeah.
actually, yeah, and well, Bjarni in January, yeah, but for the host.
It's funny,
But
on my
anyway,
Skype here right now, it's like me, Ben, and Bjarni on top, Nicole, James, and James Bot on the bottom. So it's like the January people on the top and the February in the second row.
That's
that is funny. Also, so Bjarni, you have been frozen on my screen, but you're running
not-
fine on. Yeah,
so.
do you guys see that too?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
How are you doing it on-
Okay, that's just me. Okay,
Wait,
whatever
what are
then.
you doing? Are you taking this deal or no deal?
So okay, yeah. So no, at age 20, 21, yes, I would have. Age like that I am now, 31 at the end of the month, no.
Yeah, I
Dude,
mean, it's
why
interesting
not?
talks. It sounds awesome,
I'm
but this,
Because my biological clock is ticking and I can't commit all this time to being Wonder Woman. I gotta.
But like, how
fuck
about
out,
like
baby.
Samuel Jackson?
Okay,
Like
but-
he's what, like 20 years doing Marvel shit,
Yes,
and
the
he's like what, like 70.
it's like
I don't know. I mean, me and Samuel L. Jackson just might have different priorities in our
All-
life right now.
all
You
I
both
wanna
trauma
say is-
people.
Yep.
That's true. I just like want to be a mommy. I want to prioritize being a mommy.
That level,
that's-
that fucking level though of like job security for that long is amazing. Yeah, sign me up for a decade-long gig, baby. Like, do it. And to work like an actor, not to say that, there's anything wrong with an actor's schedule, or that it's like maybe too light, but I mean, once you know your character, once you get into it, like they're getting paid probably some massive fucking like, here's your contract rate, and then when we have these asides, you'll get like your day rate too, you'll get whatever. Like they're gonna make money hand over fist for
also,
at least a
then
decade.
you got eyes on you constantly, right? Because then it's like, you
I was gonna say the amount of
And then-
control though for 10 years,
Yeah.
it feels like there's something I don't know.
And then I'm
something
gonna
feels-
Ezra Miller out. Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
That's
but the
yeah,
thing-
Well,
the
I don't
thing
know
is,
about
like,
that.
how-
He or they rather
Worst
seem.
scenario.
I don't know.
Even like, I don't know, like who's the guy who was like War Machine before? Just like
Terrence Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
franchises
But at that
even
point,
just
he
fall.
was making more
you
money
know.
than Robert Downey Jr. because Robert was coming
Yeah.
back from like drug problems, and he was like
Yep.
no, you couldn't.
Terrence Howard was a star. Like, they put him in the movie because he just did Hustle and Flow, and he was like the big star attraction for the movie. Robert Downey Jr. was like almost a
Mhm.
nobody because like it was his comeback,
Yep.
and that's one of the reasons why they didn't want him in the sequels, just because they're like, at the moment Marvel took off, they were like, you know what, fuck Terrence Howard for making us pay him money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait,
And
so
Don Cheadle's awesome though. I do love.
I was like,
But the
Don
thing
Cheadle
is,
more,
like,
to be-
they're gonna want to control your body because you have to be in the same
Oh,
shape.
Let him
yeah,
Oh,
control
oh,
that's-
my
that's-
body.
like-
there you go, Leo. That's a good point. Like
No,
I
you
wanna-
have all
I wanna
the
have a
fans.
belly,
Like,
you know what I mean?
I love superheroes. I love Star Wars, like those things. But the fans are the worst. Like
Yeah.
they're always gonna be like that's. They keep saying like for Star Wars now, like before they start shooting stuff when they cast people, they already put them with the therapist to work on how people gonna react on social media.
Wow, I believe it.
Those people always gonna
Yeah.
get pissed. Like those people, the worst kind of fans, like those super fans. That, in my opinion, they're not real fans. They just want to trash people. And then you have like those characters like Dave Bautista on Guardians of the Galaxy. He's saying like, I can't do this anymore because of every time you're gonna shoot, it's like 10 hours of makeup or something like this. And also
He said something too about he's tired of being shirtless.
yeah, and also
in movies.
he's gonna point out that he want to be like a drama guy, and it's like he doesn't even, that's like a thing I heard that he doesn't even like to, he refused when they cast someone else like The Rock or John Cena, like someone else that came from WWE or whatever. He's trying to get like super part of this. He's like, I'm a serious actor now. So it depends, like how Christian Bale also I think he didn't want to do more Batman because he didn't want to be like typecast, I guess, as Batman. I don't know.
Dave Bautista took a pretty famous shit on The Rock. Maybe about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, something like that.
I think I kind of remember
Yeah,
that.
took a massive
remember
shit on
that.
The Rock's head.
You know, that's why I love Batista. That guy doesn't, he knows, he speaks his mind, and he's a great
Wait,
actor.
so who
So I'm
would-
all for it.
Let's
He straight up cut an old school promo on him in a way to be like, "You're not an actor, I'm an actor. Yeah, let me tell you the difference."
listen, guys. I have a question. So who's the person that signed this deal? Who signed this 10-year DC deal? Or no one?
Oh, we don't know yet. We
Well,
just
no,
know the project.
it's-
So like Ben
so
is
Chris-
wet
Chris-
with the
so-
last one.
yeah,
he
so
announced
when
there was Swamp Thing.
Oh,
What's his name?
wanted to get
James
back.
Gunn.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, James Gunn, because he just announced everything. So it kind of worked out. We're talking about Batman here yesterday. All this awesome DC news came out. But yeah, so Swamp
oh
Thing
my
Ben
god.
is like, and he said it's going to be horror, but it's also connecting to the DC bigger universe. Like it's going to play out.
But at the same time,
he
James
said
has
it's gonna be origin
said
story
that they
too.
canceled Doom Patrol, even though James Gunn said it wasn't him. It was already canceled when he entered there.
Oh no, bummer.
Yeah, I knew it was going to get canceled. I mean, 4 seasons is still awesome though. Everyone go watch Doom
Yeah,
Patrol.
for real. Honestly, I think so. There is a perfect Swamp Thing movie out there, and it's the Jim Warnarski one, Return of Swamp Thing. It's pretty perfect, but for other sort of reasons. But actually, if they do, like, man, if they pull from like the Moore runs, like that's gonna be unreal. Like unreal. I thought,
I'm sure they will. Like, what else do you really? They have to
dude,
be. That
it can
story.
get so psychedelic so quickly and so dark so quickly. There's the whole storyline where I want to say Constantine's with him at one point, but they go into these South American jungles where there's a group of like cannibal, like flesh eating whatever dudes that are out there. It's like a tribe, but they also skin like babies and make suits out of the baby suits, and the flesh, because it's young, it like almost glows in the dark.
Oh, shit.
There's the whole thing where Swamp Thing ends up leads an army into hell. So like if they play it right, like you can dip into a bunch of Justice League Dark. Maybe we'll get that Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, I hope
Curse of
You know
the
what I
too.
mean?
Curse of the Swamp Thing, best film, said by Keanu's last name, aka Bruce Elliott. There you go.
If they would listen, that would be a
If James
joy.
knock him,
Oh.
Ben's
I'll
here.
be like, I'll tell Lloyd the next time he sees James, hey, tell him a director that would love to do something with Swamp Thing. I'll bring it in nice and
And
cheap.
BJARNI, we have talked about, speaking of Lloyd too, because we have talked since James Gunn has
I was
taken
gonna
over.
mention that. I know what you're gonna.
He has to
Oh yeah, there you go.
Kaufman. He has to get Lloyd Kaufman as Mr. Mixoplex.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
Could you imagine
That'd be so good.
if Lloyd was Mr. Mixelplex? How fucking perfect is that?
That'd be so good.
You need to sign a
Yeah, I can
10-year
see-
contract with Lloyd.
Yeah, that's the question. When they're going to introduce him, and 'cause Lloyd probably wants to retire at some point, and I don't think he's willing to sign a 10-year contract. Maybe with James. Maybe James can convince
If
him.
there's going to be anyone, it's going to be James Gunn. He did get a mention in Peacemaker, so I think it'll probably show up with one of those weirder shows. And that's why I think shows like, now we talk about Amanda Waller. I think shows like Waller because really can open up the world too of like the weirder stuff in that, right? You know, like all the weird people that she's gonna meet, like stuff like Mr. Mistleplex or maybe Batmite, or just like like the real kind of just nothing out of nowhere villains or
I
heroes.
want to see how
I
weird
think you
is going to be the Booster Gold.
He's all the-
Yeah, and Booster Gold is cool because he's one of my favorite characters. I just love the idea of him. This guy from the future who has no powers, but just brings future tech to here and pretends to be a guy with powers. And James Gunn describes it as like an imposter syndrome, at the show.
Have you read 52?
No.
A little bit. Like the new 52 you're talking about, right?
No, the comic book 52. So
No.
So after Infinite Crisis, which was like this big event, they canceled all comics in DC, and just for a whole year, they released one comic a week, and it was 52. So it shows what's happening in the DC universe, and one comic is every week for an entire year, dealing with like the after effects of this entire cosmic war, and like Batman's out, Superman's out, Wonder Woman's out. So all these other B characters sort of have to step into the limelight, and one of them is Booster Gold. And I would say it's probably, and it's written by the guy who wrote all the Booster Gold stories in the 80s. He's like, it's him, Grant Morrison, and a couple of other people. And I would say it's the best Booster Gold story I've ever, like, it got me into I love Booster Gold because of 52.
Huh.
And
so then you're excited for the show and whatever James Gunn's going to do about it?
I hope
or do with it?
Yeah, because I think he's going to do Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. He's doing Grant Morrison's Batman. He's doing Grant Morrison's Superman. And if he does 52, the real 52, not the new 52. If he does the real 52 Booster Gold, we're in for a treat. Booster Gold, and he's one of the few characters that's never been retconned because the universes keep coming back.
Yeah,
because he's from the future, is always the same Booster Gold. So they can do so much with that character, and I put all my faith in Gunn. Like he's gonna like not gonna let us down.
Yeah, Bjorn.
Yeah.
You make a good point that if any Joe Schmo in Hollywood was like, hey, do you want to sign a 10-year deal? I'd probably say no. But if James Gunn was like, hey, do you want to sign a 10-year deal? Maybe.
That's a good point. And Bjarni, did you ever read the comic that he's basing the new Supergirl movie off of, the Supergirl Women of Tomorrow?
No, that's a pretty new comic, right?
Yeah, it's like pretty recent because I never heard about it either. But it sounds really cool. It's like her she survived on a piece of Krypton that's like floating in space.
Everybody
and
dying.
She watched pretty much everyone die in front of her.
Nice.
If Gunn chose it, I know it's good, and it's probably going to be a great movie.
I'm excited too for the Green Lantern because we still need someone to make it work.
And it seems like what I've gathered, it's going to be like True Detective meets like Green Lantern.
And it's funny because I don't know if he's doing it, but Grant Morrison, after he did Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, he did a Green Lantern.
Really?
And that book is completely pushing the sort of space cop thing. Like,
so that's probably also because that's what he said. It's very space copy, and they have to they find there's like a murder, like something like cosmic murder that happens on Earth. So they bring in the Earth Prime Green Lantern. So I said it's gonna be like True Detective.
But I think he said that when they solve, it's probably gonna bring what's the big thing that everything gonna wrap around at the end, like all the movies and TV shows. That's what I understand.
Yeah, and it's all connected, which is also amazing.
Because I used to say, after I got into the comics, and watched the Snyderverse implode, I was like, all they have to do is just do the Grant Morrison stories. Just do those stories, use them as storyboards. And it seems like James Gunn is doing it because he's a smart guy.
Yeah. And because especially too with the Batman, the Brave and the Bold, I'm so happy to finally get the Bat family in the movies. All we've had was this just shitty Chris O'Donnell for forever. Now we finally get I hope we get some good Bat family. I love Nightwing.
How you don't like
I love all
Batman
the Robin
with nipples? That's like
No, what it is James got that Robin that had the package to it, and he's tired of sitting there at night just hard looking at Robin's package. So he's feeling conflicted. I get it.
That's one of the reasons why I always also wanted the Snyderverse to die, because Robin's dead. There's only one Robin. And Jimmy Olsen shows up for a second, and he dies. And he has the watch that he uses to contact Superman. He pushes it and still gets a bullet in his head. And And that shows that he doesn't know Superman. Because what should have happened is the moment that guy pulls the trigger, Superman is in the way and he bounces that bullet off his chest. That's the whole basis of Superman. Because who created Superman, or the co-creator of Superman, his dad died in an armed robbery. So he created the bulletproof man. He created this sort of fantasy of the man who, and the first thing he drew was a guy in an armed robbery and Superman showing up and taking the bullet and pouncing off. So, and Grant Morrison said, like, if a 6-year-old says, well, Superman can do that, that's what Superman can do. That's the whole basis of it. He saves the day.
Right.
Oh,
the city does,
okay.
Yeah.
And
I think it's Grant Morrison thing, because it's also the thing in the movies I think they haven't done ever. I think it's from the Grant Morrison comic where he like talks a girl off from like jumping off a building.
Yes.
Like she's about to like jump off and he just kind of sits there next to her. Kind of like this Batman episode, and he just like talks her down to not jump off. And that's just like a whole like page or two of just like Superman just not flying around taking bullets, being able to like still save the day and help someone out.
In the first issue of Superman, he I think he saves the world from like a dictator. And then he flies over to a guy beating his wife, and he stops him. So that's like the whole basis of Superman. He's the guy who, with his ears, he can hear the
Snyder movies ever did that. Like, the Snyder movies were always just like, it felt like Transformers, but with like Superman.
But it needs to be the little stuff too. He needs to be the guy that comes into your. There's a great story also from the 90s, I think, where this kid is like locked in a basement from his abusive parents, and Superman hears him crying and comes to save him. And I mean, that's the whole, like, he's the guy when you think you're doomed, he saves the day. And he needs to do it as minuscule as possible, as also as big. There's a great story out there, again, by Grant Morrison called Final Crisis, and where Darkseid shoots his son, who's a god. So he gets this bullet flown through time into him, and he falls on the earth. So because a god fell dead on the earth falls off its axis. So it's all happening in a couple of hours. The earth's about to hit the sun, and all this apocalyptic things happening. And Superman saves the day literally by building a miracle machine. So he goes to the dimension, builds a machine that can't be built, and it can make one wish. And it cuts to the narrator. And he's like, well, do you know what Superman wished? Well, he wished the best for everyone. And that's the character. That's what he's supposed to do.
You know,
I fucking love Superman.
I got a question, and then it's gonna follow with something based on what you just said, Bjarni. Do you have not seen it? Do you guys like Man of Steel, the Superman movie?
I like the first half of it before he becomes Superman. It's actually like, I don't know, it feels like it's like artsy. It's like sad. You're seeing him in Smallville. I liked all that shit. But then when he becomes Superman, it becomes a Michael Bay movie where he's just smashing through stuff for like.
Bjarni, how about you? Did you like it?
No. Because, like I said, the whole idea of Superman is he's supposed to save the day. He's not supposed to be necks and flying into buildings. The idea of thousands died.
Yeah. So that's,
I think it's because he probably tried to do the whole Power Rangers thing that people keep saying that every day a monster show up and everybody in the town kind of die.
Yep.
So that's why I did ask, because I remember when Man of Steel came out, and like I remember it being a big conversation and like the film discourse. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but I know that Superman does some maybe like, I'm gonna use this for the first time, uncanon like things that Superman would do. And going based off your definition, Bjarni, it's like, okay, well, if a 6-year-old was to be like, well, would Superman do this? I don't think Man of Steel necessarily does that. The movie. So
matter is like his cinematography is beautiful, but he has no clear understanding of who these characters are. And you see it in Batman v Superman. Batman's killing people, which he never does, even when Robin dies.
Not even like,
if he killed people, he would have like, killed the Joker a long time ago instead of like locking him and he run away.
Joker so
right.
Stupid. And I hated Watchmen too. He directed Watchmen, and again, it's beautiful cinematography.
How do you?
But he like.
How do you feel about Sucker Punch?
Good question.
I think it's. I understand why people like it, but I think it's a movie where he had a pretty beautiful sort of plot, but it's all an excuse really to show his visuals.
Yeah,
But I
Yeah.
people like
Cute women and his visuals, yeah. I
but
mean,
it's still
which is
like no, it's like ironic and it's really feminist and it's actually because this is how the way men portray blood. It's like he just want cool visuals and excuse it. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Sucker Punch. I'll tell you the truth. I do. I think it's a great movie. But the director's cut, I liked it in the theater, but then I got the Blu-ray and
Yeah, why does he always have a fucking director's cut? Like every movie he makes, they're like, okay, we're gonna put out the shitty version first.
That's probably the
He does
producers
that all the
screwing up
time.
everything, or like how people keep asking
But
the
like every
director
single
cut of
movie he makes,
the Suicide Squad because there was like the trailer they try to make kind of like Marvel and put like a funny music, and then they saw that everybody loved the trailer so much that the producer's like, okay, cut the movie again and make it like that. So the whole movie was just like a bunch of music videos. And the director's like, that's not what I wanted.
now look,
it was the people that made trailers. They got those to re-edit the movie. So it's a trailer company, and that's why it looks like a giant
Wow.
trailer.
I will say
being
I
a
don't-
trailer company.
Because you have
being
the
like,
edit
wow,
cuts too. That actually is even longer usually than the director cut. So the editor make a cut, the director make it tighter, and the producer's like, here, there's this tiny box here.
take these 2 minutes. No, I will say this though about the Suicide Squad. It does have the greatest villain in it of all time in Enchantress. Just all she does is like wiggle at the hips the whole time. That's all it is. That's all she does.
Is that someone with Cara Delevingne? Is that her?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, which? Okay. Yeah, I stopped that movie.
Yeah, I'm so glad
All
James
she
Gunn's
did
taken
is
over.
just
Yeah,
get
I was
fucked,
gonna say because
and I was like, that's an amazing power to have.
Yeah, but you did say you did like the Snyder Cut, Bjarni.
I loved it. I think every director's cut of a Zack Snyder movie is better, and I think the Snyder Cut, Justice League Snyder Cut, is the best thing that ever came out of the Snyderverse. But
Yeah,
4
I agree
hours,
too.
I'm like with Avatar. I'm not gonna see it again, and I'm not like gonna cry over the fact that we're not getting part 2. I think it's it was good, but it's a lot better than the Josh Whedon version. Like I don't know what the hell that was.
Oh, for sure. And it feels like an epic. Even though it's 4 hours, I love that it feels like it earns that 4 hours. It feels like this epic. We're going through each of these bits until it builds to this huge thing.
It's not. I was watching with a friend of mine. He was bored out of his mind at one point. I never felt its length. It totally worked as a 4-hour movie. But again, I also get why the studio said we're not going to release a 4-hour movie and not even in widescreen. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, you also need to play ball a little bit,
Yeah.
You're funny,
But-
Bjarni.
Whatever. I'm glad it's over.
you.
Also, the last thing I want to ask, I know it's like way more on James Gunn list, but what do you guys think about that Creature Commandos cartoon? Because that's the one I was like, oh, what's happening here?
Me and Derek talk about it all the time because, like, me and Derek wanted to make a Creature Commandos movie, and we would talk about it all the time. And then immediately I saw James Gunn was making it. I texted Derek, and I was like, Derek, they're doing it.
And it's also Grant Morrison probably wrote the greatest Frankenstein comic book of all time, which is the Seven Soldiers of Victory. So, again, I think we're going to see a lot of Morrison influence in this gun.
Have you read Creature Commandos
Is this
before?
the one
I've
that
not
they kill a Nazi or something like this?
No, it's like Vietnam.
Oh, it's Vietnam? Okay.
Yeah, and they're like Universal. They're like the Suicide Squad, except with like Universal monsters.
Yeah.
As like Vietnam commandos.
Is that from the cartoon that he put on to talk about that water creature? Is that from Hellboy?
No.
Hellboy is
It's just supposed to be like a Gilman thing, but they did have a Weasel.
Oh yeah, I saw Weasel
in-
there. That's the only one I knew who it was.
Which is great because Weasel is awesome from his Suicide Squad
Also,
movie.
he's his brother, so he would have put.
the gun run, I think.
Oh, sorry.
What'd you say?
I think they're going to have the Suicide Squad as canon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean that's what it seems like because that movie is great. I fucking love the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn movie. I love that movie so much. I have the Blu-ray somewhere.
Nice.
It's a good idea to take sort of what worked from the Snyderverse and just put it into the canon 100%. Like we don't need. I mean, I honestly, I love Henry Cavill. It would have been great to see him continue as Superman, but also get that if you're gonna really start over, you can't just have all the same actors.
No.
And the thing
Just
too, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Someone else out there can check it. I'm pretty sure Cavill is like one of the like all his Superman movies are like the lowest grossing and like at least even in like grossing and popularity are his Superman movies. Like if you I think if you look back at even like maybe I'm wrong, I have to double check, but I think like Superman Returns made a fuckload of money on its initial weekend, and then you look at Christopher Reeve's Superman that was iconic. Cavill's Superman just kind of just like no one cared, you know what I mean? Like nobody like
People care more now that he got fired than when the movie actually came out.
And also, apparently, he didn't get fired. Did you guys hear about that too? James Gunn said he didn't fire him. There was never even a deal on the table. Like The Rock was actually using.
Yeah.
This is what James Gunn too. His exact words were they were dicking around Henry Cavill. Like his exact words with the studio execs and like people were going above the heads of the company to just dick around Henry Cavill. So it's not even James Gunn, you know. There was never even like a deal.
Right,
Also, he wasn't even
no one
on
got
Peacemaker. If you're gonna keep people from his already two universe things, he would have kept just the Flash because he's still not gonna fire that motherfucker, and Aquaman.
Yeah. So,
well, they keep an Aquaman because Aquaman also made a fucking $1 billion when it came.
Wait, the one with Jason Momoa?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
really popular.
I'll tell you why.
you guys-
Because Jason Momoa had
Yeah, but that movie was like.
well,
Yeah, I didn't like that movie
wait,
that
like,
much either. But
Have you guys
still,
noticed that
$1
when James Gunn started, he was like, "Yeah, Shazam is coming. It's like an amazing movie." And then Flash, that's amazing. And then I forgot what was the other thing he mentioned is amazing. And then he said, and Aquaman. Yeah.
and Aquaman. So real quick though, this kind of goes back to just sort of Superman in general, and maybe with like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman or whatever not being sort of the bigger grossing kind of things. Do you think? And it's a question that's kind of weighed a little heavy. Do you think like as a population, maybe we've kind of turned on Superman for more of like a darker, more broody sort of hero because the notion of the Boy Scout, the whatever, is maybe something that
I would say
that we no
actually.
longer can really get behind or appreciate or understand. You know what I mean?
And you know, I'll say yes because of two reasons. I remember when Man of Steel was coming out and being hyped for it because it was a darker, like tone. You know, you see the trailer for the Snyder movie, it looked like that Snyder tone or whatever. And I remember when the Captain America movie was coming out in 2011, and I saw the trailer for that. I'm like, well, this Superman looks way cooler than that Captain America because he's just a shitty Boy Scout, and compared to what they're doing with Superman. But now, after all this time, and like I look back and that Captain America movie is incredible. And like the way his whole arc is amazing. And like, you know what? I think that like there was a time where I think people were feeling that way, but I feel like people want the hopeful Superman back. Like
Right.
at least now, I think people want that back.
I mean, yeah. I also have to understand. I also say yes, Ben. I totally agree with you, and I think the problem is that you have to look at the sort of scope of comic books in general, because especially with Superman, he first comes out in 1939, and he's very altruistic, and then you have the Comics Code happens, and when the Comics Code happens, the comics have to really censor themselves. So the comics only then really like the big demographic they're hitting for is like prepubescent kids. Boys mostly, because the comics have to be like campy,
Right.
And so for the longest time, and then up until the 80s, comic book sales start sort of dying down because everyone's sort of tired of seeing this Boy Scout character, and also because people felt he didn't reflect the real world anymore. Because what happened in the 70s was the Vietnam War happened, and unlike World War II, it was very gray. There was no Ho Chi Minh was no Adolf Hitler. So suddenly the idea that
Superman
the
come
United
in,
States,
punch him in the face,
yeah. So suddenly, the United States wasn't this land of the free, home of the brave. Suddenly, the United States were the war criminals, were the invaders. So this sort of this imagery of we're always the good guys and we're altruistic and we're good had sort of disappeared. Right. And what came after in the 80s was a rebirth of comic books, and Frank Miller and other people and Alan Moore would make these gritty takes on these characters that existed. We had Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that. And so and that's one of the reasons in 1993 they did the Death of Superman, because the Superman sales were so low because everyone wanted guys with giant guns. They wanted people like the Punisher. They wanted characters that killed.
Oh.
Spawn was popular. Like the
Right. 90s.
So the 90s, the early 90s was known as like the Extreme Era. So the idea of having a Boy Scout Superman just didn't sell. And we even after 9/11, people weren't feeling that they wanted a character that was altruistic. They wanted someone to kick ass.
Right.
And it was really hard for Superman to be marketable. And but I think the problem is that Superman is the one character that you can't compromise on. He is the one who has to be the Boy Scout. He is the one who has to be altruistic.
I think now more than ever, it's time. You know what I mean? I feel like also in general, the way superheroes have kind of gone, we've seen the evil version of Superman now. I mean, like so many times. You know, the Watchmen kind of like government evil person, or even just like general just mind control. We've seen like, oh, you know, even like Invincible, the boys. You know, like we've seen these versions. I think now people are more accepting to that Boy Scout Superman. I think everyone kind of wants that hope a little bit.
Because people, you hadn't really explored it that much in other mediums. So now with the boys and all that, and what's the name of the bad Superman video game and comic book?
Yeah.
No, Injustice.
Injustice. So we people saw that and were like, oh, this is cool. This is a cool version of Superman. But now that's been overplayed. So now is the best time, and that's what I love too about the press release. He says he stands for truth, justice, and the American way, and that's like that really showcases that we're talking old school Superman. We're talking fucking red underpants. We're talking.
Well, like if you like,
so yeah, that's a good question too to ask, because you know James Gunn put out a poll today on Twitter: trunks, no trunks. I mean, what do you guys?
Oh, trunks.
What's your vote?
Yeah, we saw without it look weird, but the things like what's the things like truth, justice in America, but like do they all kind of go together or?
Oh, but that's another thing. People have sort of for years they've stopped using the American ways, truth, justice, and they say something else. But I think it's good because that's the original tagline, and I think that's sort of. Even as someone who's noticed faults in the U.S. In the past, I think it's a beautiful sort of send-off to, you know, what the U.S. is supposed to stand for and what it means to so many people. You know, there's a reason why immigrants are still flocking to the U.S. and refugees want to live there, and it's why it's viewed as the bastion of, you know, freedom. There's a reason for that, and it's Superman.
And Superman learns that, you know, growing up too.
Yeah.
Well,
you know, that's what...
and I guess that's sort of what I was getting at by kind of asking that, right? Is like the notion for me for too long has been like being here and it shit's gotten so bad. There is no like I guess while there's still hope in the world, and you always want there to be hope in the world, there's not that hero. There's not that guy that you can point at and be like, well, he is the full embodiment of all things right in the world. You know, mom, apple pie, and fucking all of that shit all at the same time. And it's felt like, I guess, sort of throughout like my late teens, early 20s, and then, you know, as I just become a grumpy old man, like it feels like a lot of that is gone. But to James's point here, like you want to see it come back. You want to see that return. So it's sort of like the older I get too, the more I want there to be more hope. And in the way that I look around at, you know, like unhoused populations and all of this other stuff, all this bad in the world, you want there to be just one signal. You know what I mean? One thing.
And there's
yeah,
because there really is something to be said for like someone that won't be all good all the time. You know, like someone that stands up for like the people, like just to be like, no, this isn't right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, we don't necessarily have to be nice to everyone when.
But that's also why you need the Batman. You know, you need Batman.
Right.
Superman.
Yeah,
Superman's the face of hope that everybody is awesome all the time and is good people. And Batman's the one who's got to be the bearer of bad news and get the.
No, that's exactly what Batman, there you go, what he's perfect for.
And that ties it all back together, because that's why Waller was like, we need a new Batman, because if Batman's gone, there's no one who's going to regulate these heroes. There's no one who's going to ground them the way they need it and be that smart and
The
hold down
world
that
needs
fort.
a Batman.
No.
Wow. Yeah, that makes it all make sense to me now.
Also, would
like
Yeah, we Nicole. We got
yeah, I didn't get it until now. Now I get it. There you go. Awesome, guys.
I guess it's about that time we start wrapping up here. So talk about our last final thoughts. Bjarni, I don't know if you know this exactly, but we rate shows and what we watch by two measures. We have two things, right? So we have this noise. This is Derek from Where Deer. If you don't like the show, you give it the Where Deer noise. So do you hear it? Now, if you like the show, then you give it an old success, thanks to our good buddy Zach Amico.
Success.
So that's how we rate shows here. So what are your final
real quick,
thoughts?
we gotta let Bjarni know. This is what Zach says as he is masturbating to corpse porn in Curse of the Were-Deer.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
Right.
success.
When
Yeah.
he finishes.
Success.
Spoilers, come on.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on this though, and what are you gonna rate it?
I'm gonna rate it a 9 out of 10. I was gonna say 9 out of 11, but I'm not gonna go there. It's a total success. It's one of the best episodes out there. It's a great epilogue, closure for this entire universe, not just this entire series. And it reminds me also of one of my favorite comic books. John Byrne did a story called Generations, and it showcases like Batman and Superman from the beginning when they first meet when they're like 6 years old, which is a great story. Batman, of course, was the first Robin, and he meets Superboy, and then it goes into the future. And it's and what's beautiful about these characters is this idea that they'll survive long after the original sort of guy is there. So this idea of Batman of the future, this idea that there's always going to be a Batman, it's a really beautiful idea, and I can't imagine another way to end this universe, this series.
Yeah.
So it's the best possible way to end it, and they did such a good job, and the animation's perfect, and
It's so good. Yeah, we barely talked about it, but it's so good. I mean, even when they move, like I'll watch them, like but Leo has like behind him, like when they start turning their heads, like the shadow follows them on their faces as like if they're walking through the light. And like I think they were doing it digitally at the time, but still they had to draw a lot more than you would have to do today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's still just insane to me. And then also different aspect ratios because they would change to show the three different points of like the time because there's three different things going on. There's like the really black and white future and like the wide aspect ratio, and then there's like the I guess present day future, and then there's like the past or whatever. They just changed all those different aspect ratios and how each of them look. It's amazing. Even like the black and white stuff was like shot like a movie. Like they have like depth of field, like different focuses. Like it's insane. And for what the show is, I feel like they've gone crazy.
Yeah.
But
I think the coloring was digital, and I think everything else is animated.
Yes, but still. But so even like coloring it digital, I mean, instead of the shadows to make that, it's crazy. Yeah. What about you, Yarn Yeti? What are your final
very
thoughts?
much a success. Very, very much a success. In knowing as sort of little as I know about the majority of this, like there's such a level of conflict. I do feel bad for Reeves that they stole his idea, reverse stole it. But I do love the notion though that someone could so backhandedly do something so good for humanity at the same time. You know what I mean?
Which kind of just Amanda Waller kind of.
It's the idea of the greater good, I guess, and then
it's like one save a million,
right? Like it's very much the train. It's the train. Do you run over the 5 guys working on the track to save the 200 people in the back of the thing? Yeah, but like I don't know, man. The way this one was written, again, like I said at the very beginning, I felt like I could see it. I could have seen it on the page. in the way that a lot of the things sort of play out. And even at the end, when he's getting ready to meet up with his old lady for the date, and he's got that box in his hand, he's got the ring in his hand, you can kind of just see that on a page. Him on the phone, feet kicked up, looking at the thing.
No,
it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about all that as you've like talked about
Yeah,
it.
it feels very much ripped from like a comic, and I just thought it was. I thought this was exceptional. So yeah, very good.
Success.
What about you, Leo?
So at one point, I would have give Werdir and called the Power Rangers Time Force to arrest them for stealing from Secret of Cock Island. But also, I agree with Ben and Bjarni. It's a success. Like, I love this show, and I'm glad they had like a third season. But at the same time, I wouldn't be pissed if they actually finish there, because that was the original idea.
It could be wrong. I feel like this was supposed to be the finale, and then I think they got a third season.
Yeah,
after.
no, they didn't have like a renew when they decided to do this, and then they're like, oh, by the way, we renew now. So that was for nothing, kind of. Like, it wasn't for nothing because we still got that masterpiece. But yeah, I wouldn't hate if the show was actually, that was the last, like, wrapping everything. It was really good.
Yeah.
Success.
All right, Nicole, I saved you for last.
Yeah.
What do you give the show? What are your final thoughts?
I do give it a success, and I'm surprised that this hasn't come up before. There was like a good amount of thirst in this episode, like, not gonna lie. Like, Amanda Waller was like, oh, why are superheroes? Yeah, like, why are they all so good looking? Like, and like at the end, like his girlfriend, almost fiance, is like in the bed, and it's like this gorgeous, like sexy, like circular bed. Like, oh my God. I was like, give it to me, Batman. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I give it a success.
Batman, give it a call.
Yeah, Batman, call me.
It should be noted that Bruce Timm is a coomer. He loves hot women and loves beautiful women, and he can't get sex off his head or his mind. And there's actually a sexual innuendo. He says Batman left his DNA all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh my God. Yes. I love that. And she said something like, "Don't get any ideas or anything." I was like, "Oh, that was like a very adult line," and
Not like. And he always tried to get Batman in banging Batgirl. Like, I know that was always a thing too. I think that's like feeds the Batman Beyond of why I think Dick Grayson ended up leaving, because him and Batgirl banged.
Okay.
I never liked that, but yeah, he eventually had.
It's just Bruce Timm just loves fucking.
Yeah, he loves sex. He loves and yeah.
That hot, I would too. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so Nicole, that was a success.
Yeah. Success.
Yeah, of course I'm giving this show a success because I picked it. It was also the greatest Batman. I think it's still like the greatest Batman animated episode of anything, and like it may not be the finale of like the Justice League Unlimited, but to me this feels like the finale of the 90s Batman the Animated Series. Like it feels like the perfect cap. Like you can watch all Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, and then just watch this episode, and it would all literally tie that all together. Because it brings the movies together, like Mask of Phantasms. Because I don't think we ever even saw that character, like the Reaper or whatever, outside that movie, at least in the shows at all.
It's only in that movie.
Yeah, and then in that episode, and then also bring up Return of the Joker, which is also an amazing fucked up movie where the Joker like infects Tim Drake as a kid and like brainwashes him, and then years later Tim Drake is now just like an old dude working at like a factory, and Joker like retakes over his mind, and he becomes the Joker himself.
God.
And it's
wow,
yeah.
That sounds crazy.
Tim Drake even shoots the Joker in the beginning of the movie, like flat out just shoots
him.
The Joker.
But yeah, so I'm glad they got that message in there, and then I always love old Batman. Like I just love Brody, just like said, I love Dark Knight Returns. So like, I just love that, just like Batman kind of coming out of retirement, just beat up, grizzled. But I love that this one took it even like a step further, where this is like 90-year-old Batman, where he's just even grodier and even angrier. And like one of my favorite parts of this episode is when him and Terry are yelling at each other, and Batman's like, it's an honor to be Batman, and he's trying to open up his pill bottle, and it's as he's saying it's an honor to be Batman, his pills are spilling like all over the floor that Terry has to help
That
him
is a
pick
good
up.
point.
Every old man out there though, doing every old man thing. Why I gotta, you know what I mean? Like you can
Yeah.
get it. And then it's an honor to be me, and you feeble and old and
That was
fucking.
like there was so going back to the White Lotus. This is not much of a spoiler. You can imagine there's old men having sex in that big Viagra theme in that. So I imagine it. Yeah. Anyway,
Hot.
just just like any old man. It's easy to be mean. There's like Viagra spilling out. You know what I mean? It's just like a good kind of visual.
Well, but still, so like Batman is like also when we see him in the future, like this Batman, this old Batman, he's still like even more completely alone than he was, when we met him in the 90s. He's even now, he's like literally has 0 people. And then, the beginning of it's all about Terry yelling at him. It's like, it's your fault. You just why everybody else left you. And then him realizing, oh, it's like it's not my fault you're my dad. We were just kind of like actually the weird universe kind of brought us together because also his parents, Amanda Waller tried to kill his parents. It didn't work. But then the beginning of Batman Beyond, his dad actually dies, just circumstances, and then he ends up with Bruce Wayne. So it's like all like the universe kind of bringing that together. And yeah, I fucking love this episode, man. It's just like the perfect Batman. So there, and it brings it all the same. And this scene where Batman waits with that girl, and shout out to Kevin Conroy, greatest Batman ever. R.I.P. to the best Batman.
Yep.
And like when he died, I watched this episode, and it's like this. Like I just love that scene where he's sitting next to that girl, and all the Batman you're used to seeing is just this guy who was just beating the crap out of just poor thugs or whatever. And here he is just being just hopeful. It reminds me of the new Batman movie where it's like he's beating up the Riddler thugs, and he's like, why isn't this working? And then by him deciding I'm going to help these people, when the Gotham floods, that's when like people start turning like, oh, that's when people start talking about Batman, and then like the Riddler doesn't matter anymore, and like that's when the Riddler's plans really kind of get fucked up. Not that it got fucked up because he got away with it, but because now he's not being talked about in the news. I think that's what this is all about too. It's like this hopefulness of Batman that you can give people hope when he gets right into the nitty gritty of it. And so yeah, I love Batman. Yeah.
Success.
Oh yeah, I get it.
I love Batman.
And he needs to be both, like you said. My favorite scene, I mean, the scene with Ace is of course beautiful and it's a very iconic scene, and many people say it's their favorite. But there's another scene that I think is just as beautiful is when Terry finally comes back, and Bruce knew that he was coming back, which is shows the prep time again. He made him soup.
Yep.
And he's sort of like bitter over.
Oh yeah.
Got cold, and he's like like a dad. He's like, well, you should eat something before you go out and save the city.
Bro, that was super subtle, but yeah, I made you soup. Like, fucking, you're in my chair. All of a sudden, he becomes like grumpy old man dad, and yeah, it is subtle, but it is equally beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing.
And then he calls him like pops or like something at the end, right? He's like, you're a stubborn whatever, and he's like, just like you pops or like father like son, whatever he says at the end.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's like they basically sort of snarl at each other, but they're both saying "I love you."
Yeah,
it's a really beautiful.
Yeah,
scene.
you're right.
Yeah,
that's how Batman does. Batman I don't think has ever told anyone he's loved them ever. So that's just how he does it. All right, man.
Oh no, go on. Really fast. Okay, when he's like walking out the park, he's like, I can't. Sorry, I wasn't sure if you were. Okay, he was like, I can't be with you to like his girlfriend. That was his way of saying I love you without saying I love you, because the way of saying I love you was breaking up with her because she wouldn't die. That's it. I thought that was great.
But he decides, Batman doesn't have to be alone, too, which is also a very powerful thing because Batman's always alone. And for him to decide, you know what, I am going to marry that girl and not end up like Bruce alone, but still be Batman is a huge,
because he's not smart as
good point.
Bruce.
Like, change and character and just
put into a
Yeah, good point. Love that. Yeah, I love that.
True.
There wasn't something I forgot. Is some Batman media where he mentions there's this misconception that I'm alone, but the truth is I've never been alone, and I think it's because they're talking about like Alfred. Like he always has these people helping him. Even it's Robin, Superman, Batgirl,
Gordon.
Alfred, Harry. He's always surrounded by people that love him. It's called the Bat Family, and there's always these aspects of and a lot of the stories. I think it's in a good story called Dark Victory, which is a retelling of the first time Robin joins Batman. And it's about and they sort of do it in Batman Forever, I guess, in like the worst way possible. But just the idea that you can't do it alone.
Wow.
When he opens up and gives people a chance to, help him out, that's when he shines.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, agree.
James.
Dude, and also, like I said, this is supposed to be a fucking kid show. There's no reason it should be this deep, and they just did it. Bruce, Tim, and Paul Dini, like, we're just doing it. We're going this deep on this kid show.
We're showing respect, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what were you saying, Leo?
Oh no, I can't like talk forever about like Batman and all the DCs, but I was gonna ask you what is next week.
All right, next week. Unfortunately, BJARNI, you won't be here next week, but I love having you. You got to come back on again. Hopefully, live person next time.
Yeah, I want to do Tom and Jerry.
Oh my God, please!
Ooh.
We haven't done it.
Yeah,
so
surprisingly not.
That one.
What, the newest movie?
I'll save that.
The live action with anime.
We can choose like 5 or 6 episodes from like the best years or something. Like one from the 40s, one from the 50s. Like, cause it is I think the best thing I've ever seen is Tom and Jerry. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, we will definitely we'll figure that out. But next week we'll do something interesting too, because this is the first time we're ever gonna do a podcast, kind of. So on Tubi right now, they have the Smodamations on Tubi right now, which is, I don't know if you guys ever listen to Smodcast. Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier, they did their podcast for like forever, and they actually animated a ton of segments into like a movie that is on Tubi right now called Smodamations. So, and in the honor of our good friend Liam Regan playing at the Smod Castle next week, he was like, why not? Let's as I said, we also never done a podcast animated thing. I guess we did it with Midnight Gospel, but this is more like actual, like, it's just 2 guys and somebody else drew over it. So it's gonna be, I don't know. You guys, anybody here Smod?
I have no idea what it is.
I know.
Smod.
I know it is because of Liam's poster, which is funny because like it includes Kevin Smith, who is this like but I mean, since seeing that poster, I've been very interested in it. So this will be very cool to check out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's him and Scott Mosier. It's the producer of Clerks. It's like, this is all like Kevin Smith's like first podcast,
before Fat Man on Batman, before all of that stuff.
But Ben, you've listened to
I
Smodcast,
have
haven't you?
absolutely listened to Smodcast. Yes. Yeah. I did not know they had turned it into a fucking cartoon. I had no idea.
Yeah, there's a really good Harry there. It's amazing. They just like, it's all about Harry like fucking Ron. And then using a spell called Forgeticus. It's
amazing.
And
this is on.
I mean, Bjorn, are you a Smodcast fan at all?
I love a Fat Man on Batman. I think that's one of the.
Yeah, let's do it. I am also on one episode. Just Kevin Smith wasn't on it, but I am on an episode of Fat Man on Batman.
Which episode?
It was like 2 years ago, right before COVID, actually. Like, I went to LA on my birthday. And weirdly, Kevin Smith actually was on Long Island when I was in LA doing a show. But they still had like a Fat Man show without Kevin Smith, like his other dude, Mark Bernardin.
Okay.
And I was on there, and I got to ask the question. So if you go back and listen, I'm there.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Was that this? No, last year was the birthday that you saw the Toxic Avenger, right? Or was that okay?
Yeah. So this is before that.
Got it.
Way before. And I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you signed an NDA that.
Yeah, you don't know what you're talking
happened.
about. Happened 2 years ago.
Yeah, come on, stop it. Like, you can.
All right.
After the show, you're gonna tell me and BJARNI what's up. What?
Where can we find you at, Ben Johnson?
You can find me in. Well, you can find me lurking on BJARNI's Twitter because, low-key, if you are not following BJARNI on Twitter, you are missing out at some of the funniest things you'll ever see in your life. That's just point of fact. Also, you'll find me at yarn_yeti. You can email us at totally.toonular@gmail.com. We do have an email tonight. I can make it very quick. It's from friend of the show, Joshua
Oh wait,
Dolan.
you have email.
Yeah.
Wait, Joshua didn't miss an email.
Yeah. So it says, Joshua Dolan, our friend, he says, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you guys I love the show. So here's what I'm thinking. You just cover animation that is in a film of a regular nature, like Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, or like Natural Born Killers." So he's suggesting just the animated sequences from that. Or don't actually cover any cartoon shows. Animation and music videos is obviously a big hit, so your show should just cover specifically that and only that, nothing else. See, he's pulling Terry's bullshit. Him and Terry are talking about changing the format of the show together, and I think secretly
they
they
should
have
just start their own show. You go do your own show.
done. Then on our big 150th episode, he says you switch it up completely and don't even cover animation at all. Instead, you just focus on whittling tools such as classic bench knife or the varying degrees of the hook knife. And he says, "Nah, he's just fucking with us." Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, it's his favorite movie of all time. He goes on to say Angela Lansbury is a goddess.
One of his favorites.
She can sing and dance, and oh my God, was she fucking hot. And Bed Knobs and Broomsticks had animation. If you ever do that one, he wants to come on for it.
No, Kevin Smith talks about that all the time because people ask him, like, if you're going to, like, reboot anything, he's always like, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. That's what I'm...
Done. But...
I've never seen it, though, so I guess...
Oh, you should. You should give it a watch. It is a good time. But, yeah, you'll find me there. And then again, yarn_yeti, shit.house.production, Instagram. That's where I live.
All right, Nicole, where can you find you at?
I don't care about me right now. So we've been recording for a bunch of hours. I'm not sure if we talked about BJARNI and Shakespeare, hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, and I want to plug that because BJARNI, I love your character. I love your scene with my favorite character in the movie, Amanda Flowers, which I forget the name of her character, but like I have never met her, and I think she's just like phenomenal in that movie. Like I look forward to meeting her one day. Yeah, so check out BJARNI and hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, where he met all these amazing people. That's it. Fuck me. Just watch hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. Thank you.
What about
You
you,
can
Leo?
find me one day in Iceland, hopefully. Yeah. So
You always have a couch to stay if you ever want to come.
I wish one day I have money to go visit there. That's like one of the places that me and my wife really want to go. But yeah, visit me on visiticeland.com, I guess. That's a probably real website.
Amazing.
And BJARNI, man, it's been amazing It's been amazing having you on this show. Seriously, I miss you, man. Hope you come here soon. Where can we find you at? And real quick, can you tell us what it was like shooting that certain scene from Shitstorm with Amanda Flowers?
Yes. So you can find me. I have an Instagram, BJARNIGMM. I have a website, gasmaskman.com. I make. I do stand up. I rap. I like to act. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. Just my name, BJARNI Goitur. I don't know how you would say it.
Yeah, I don't know how to say your last name. That's why I just always say BJARNI.
It's Goitur, but my friend John Birmingham said BJARNI Guitar. So I wish I could play the guitar, then it'd be good. But I can't.
Yeah.
My biggest sort of acting gig so far is hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. It's coming out on Blu-ray soon. It's Lloyd Kaufman's swan song. Hopefully not. Hopefully he keeps on directing. But if not, it's a good way to end a 60-year career. I got to play a captain named after myself because Captain Blarney, based on the fact that when I...
And shout out to Mark Finch, who's also in town right now.
Yeah,
your partner.
Mark Finch. And we wrote originally, because we shot a lot of that scenes in Albania, so that's the only reason I'm in the movie. I was... not really supposed to be in it, but I was in Albania with the Trauma Europe crew, which also includes Mark Finch and a couple of other great Europeans like Corrado Adamo from Italy.
Oh,
and
my baby boy.
the entire crew was mostly Albanian, so we needed someone they could trust to sort of play the captain and the boatswain. And just in a couple of days, me and Mark wrote 3 new pages of material for the script. And we added that in. Lloyd, of course, had to approve it. And we filmed it. And a lot of it's still in the movie. It got edited down, obviously, because it's not a movie about us. But
you know, in big Hollywood productions, when you do certain scenes when you're like pantsless and stuff, you know, they give you these nice, like, I don't know, kind of thongs or maybe something to put over, like, in that scene with you and Amanda, like, did you have any barrier between your butt and her face?
They wanted me to go full pantsless. That's the only scene we shot all of my scenes in Albania except for that scene, and I totally forgot about it until suddenly it's like, oh, I have to shoot a scene with Amanda, and somehow I was under the impression that we were gonna have like a stunt butt, but we didn't. Yeah, because that's what Hollywood does. I think Lloyd said, no, we need your beautiful butt, and I remember cleaning myself up as much as possible just in case, you know. And I felt really bad for Amanda having to put her head. And Amanda played Ariel, and she's amazing in this movie, probably the best character ever. And actually, there's Gary Coleman, the late great Gary Coleman. He went on Howard Stern, and Howard Stern asked, "Does your wife give you blowjobs?" And he said, "Well, that's no place for a woman's head to be." So I ad-libbed that line when she starts licking my asshole. That's no place for a woman's. That's no place for a woman's. The Gary Coleman quote. And it was really fun, and I was really fun doing that scene behind the scenes. So that was like the one day where I gave everyone else my cameras, and I was a prima donna. I was an actor, and I just wanted to act, wanted to focus on everything.
And you got your butt licked.
Got my butt licked. Not for real though. It's all acting. Her nose almost touched my anus once, but she made sure not to. But it was fun. It was both haunting and fun. And the greatest thing about it was just trying to make our producer Justin Martell and Lloyd Kaufman and Fleming, the photographer, laugh, because I of course edited the behind the scenes movie. So I got to see a lot of stuff that nobody else got to see, including seeing Mark Finch and Justin and all these, and John Brennan, the other producer, all of them just snickering at the scene and how I was acting. And then Fleming comes through the door because it was a close set. That's what Troma does. So it was me, Fleming, and Ariel, and then everyone else was outside watching it with the monitor.
Right.
And even the BTS were not allowed in. So they still filmed my butt on the monitor though. And there's a scene that it didn't make
the close it, but we're gonna put the monitor outside for everybody to see.
So there was a scene that didn't make it into the BTS. I didn't want to like make it about me, but I thought it was really funny. Fleming comes through the door and tells Lloyd, like, he kind of looks like Brad Pitt. And Lloyd replies, "Yes, just an uglier version of Brad Pitt."
It's been great having you on, BJARNI. You got to come soon. Hopefully, set again in person, man. It's been so much fun. It's been an amazing BOYLAN Day bash. It's been great. I apologize to whoever's listening that if it gets choppy, or I know some of the videos have been jumping back and forth. The Wi-Fi has been a little weird today, but hey, we didn't crash. So yeah, so I'm gonna end this on a high before we crash. Peace out, motherfuckers. Thank you all so much. Thank you again, BJARNI.
You guys, this is all Kyle's mom's fault. Shut up, Cartman.